What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
1 of Chapter 1 Activating Saitama Template. Advertise here. Donghai, Shichidao Marine Branch Base. Look, that loser started doing meaningless exercises again. A woman can do this amount of exercise without being out of breath. Laozi saw that he has been exercising like this for 3 years, but it's useless. If the colonel hadn't protected him, a waste like this would have died in the hands of pirates long ago. 4 or 5 marine soldiers stood aside, pointing at the white knight not far away and ridiculing loudly. Then these people said a few words in a nonchalant manner, and their words were full of contempt. However, Bai Yi didn't seem to hear their words and was still squatting on his own. After finishing speaking, several people felt bored and dispersed. 98, 99, 100. After Bai Yi finished 100 squats, his legs were trembling, so he reluctantly stood up and wiped away the sweat. Phew, there are only 100 push-ups left. After doing push-ups, I can really activate the system. Thinking of Bai Yi's handsome face, there was a little expectation, and his eyes were bright. Since traveling through time 3 years ago, his identity has become the son of a marine soldier who died in battle. As a standard feature for time travelers, White Knight naturally also has a plug-in system, the One Punch Man template system. One Punch Man Saitama, whose strength is at the ceiling level in the world of One Punch Man. In that world, no matter who is stronger than Saitama, they are as far away as billions of galaxies. The power of Saitama's full punch can even penetrate the Earth. It's so fast that it only takes a few breaths to travel from the Earth to the Moon. The force value is much higher than that of the pirate world. This plugin is ridiculously powerful. I just want to activate the One Punch Man template system, but the required conditions are quite confusing. Byakuya must follow Saitama's exercise regimen, which includes 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and a 10-kilometer run every day. Can be more but not less. And it takes 3 years without interruption before the system can be successfully activated. For this reason, Bai Yi has been working hard to complete the training goals for the past 3 years. But this amount of exercise can only play a weak role in the world of pirates. And because of the rules of the system, Bai Yi did not participate in the training that marine soldiers should have. This made Bai Yi's strength almost no improvement in the past 3 years. But because Colonel Vaughn missed his father who died in Bai Yi, and Bai Yi was still underage. So let Shiro Yoruichi stay in the marine base to protect his safety. Over time, it naturally aroused dissatisfaction among some marine soldiers. Coupled with the fact that Lieutenant Colonel Harry, who had always been at odds with Colonel Vaughn, fanned the flames among the soldiers, this dissatisfaction spread to the entire marine branch. Of course, what Harry did was not to target Bai Yi, he just wanted to use Bai Yi to arouse the soldiers' resentment towards Vaughn. Bai Yi had heard those sarcastic words just now countless times. From being full of anger at the beginning, to being calm and composed now. These words made Bai Yi's mind extremely tough. In the past 3 years, Bai Yoruichi has always known what he wants and what he should do. Today, it's finally time to harvest. The last group is moving. 1, 2, 99, 100. Bai Yi took a deep breath, with an abnormal look in his eyes, and leaned down to complete 100 push-ups in the most standard posture. At the same time, an ethereal voice sounded in his mind. Ding! Activate the One Punch Man template system. Open black lens bracket host. Bai Yi close black lens bracket. Template. One Punch Man, Saitama. Fusion degree, 1%. World source power, 0. The redemption store is not open. Hearing the sudden system sound, Bai Yi's dark eyes flashed with light. What was supposed to come finally came. What makes Bai Yi a little disappointed is that he thought he would be able to obtain Saitama's full power by activating the system. That's enough strength to explode into the stars. But judging from the system panel, he can only integrate 1% of Saitama's strength now. Before Bai Yi could think too much, he felt a powerful force suddenly emerge from his body and spread throughout his body. Bai Yi trembled all over, and instantly lost control of his body. He could only let this power transform his body. The bones in his body were crushed and reshaped, and the tendons were torn and then grew again. Blood kept coming out of the pores and soon soaked the clothes, wrapping the White Knight in it like a blood cocoon. Except for his consciousness, Bai Yi's whole body was undergoing earth-shaking changes. Damn it, if I had known it would hurt so much, I should have done it in the room. Severe pain kept hitting Bai Yi's nerves, and Bai Yi clenched his teeth without making any sound. Bai Yi was still a little worried. If this scene was seen by others, it might be troublesome to explain it. Fortunately, although the transformation process was painful, it was very fast. The transformation was completed in just 1 minute and was not seen by outsiders. After the severe pain subsided, Bai Yi now felt an unprecedented sense of fulfillment. This feeling even gave Bai Yi an illusion. I'm invincible. After a while, Bai Yi shook his somewhat groggy head and moved his body slightly. Click, click. The blood cocoon wrapped around his body began to crack, and the bones throughout his body sounded like firecrackers exploding. It's so cool. This can be regarded as the end of all hardships. Afterwards, Bai Yi carefully looked around and saw no one around him, so he ran towards his house at a very fast speed. After washing away all the blood stains on his body and changing into clean clothes, Bai Yi began to think about things about the system. Bai Yi originally thought that after unlocking the system, he would have 100% Saitama's strength. In the end, only 1% got it. However, Bai Yi had already expected this result. Although I don't know how strong this 1% Saitama is in the world of pirates. But based on Bai Yi's experience in the Marines in the past 3 years, he is at least much better than Colonel Vaughn. This is not bad, and this degree of integration should also be able to be improved. The way to improve it may be to rely on the source power of that world. Bai Yi quickly asked the system. At this time, the ethereal system prompt sounded again. World source power. The extent to which host participates in the original plot of the world, and the improvement of personal status, power, and prestige will increase the world source power. World source power can be used to increase fusion, redeem items, and redeem subordinate characters. Close black lens bracket. Sure enough, as Bai Yi expected, the emergence of world source power helped him improve his integration level. And according to the system's explanation of the source of the world, Bai Yi also has his own understanding. If the development in the anime belongs to the development root of the original plot, it is fixed. The appearance of Bai Yi is a variable. This means that the future direction will be different from the original plot. The greater the change, the more world power Bai Yi can harvest. Not only that, Bai Yi's status, power, and prestige were all taken into account. From this point of view, the acquisition of world source power is closely related to every choice Bai Yi makes next. A crazy idea popped into Bai Yi's mind. If I kill the Tianlong people, wouldn't my reputation on the sea grow rapidly and I can gain a lot of world source power? Thinking of this, a terrifying murderous intention flashed in Bai Yi's eyes. If the original plot was changed, a large amount of world source power could be obtained. What if I kill Luffy? This kind of harvest is definitely more terrifying. Chapter 2 Choosing to Fight. Advertise here. However, while Bai Yi was thinking, a chaotic sound suddenly erupted in the base. Then the piercing siren suddenly sounded. Dip, dip, dip. Bai Yi saw many marine soldiers running outside in panic through the window. Bai Yi's originally happy expression also turned serious. On the island, once the siren sounds, it can only mean one thing, that is, pirates are coming. Bang bang bang. There was a knock on the door, and then the door was pushed open, and a middle-aged man with a Chinese character came in. The middle-aged man is nearly 2 meters tall and has a burly build. Just looking at him makes him feel oppressive. Bai Yi was the first to ask, Colonel Vaughn, are there pirates attacking? Colonel Vaughn nodded and said, the patrol force has observed pirates coming to our island. We don't know what pirates they are yet. During the night, you stay inside the marine base and don't go out to avoid accidents. Every time there is a pirate attack on the island, Colonel Vaughn will let Bai Yi stay at the marine base. This time is no exception. For this, Bai Yi was very grateful to Colonel Vaughn. If it weren't for Colonel Vaughn's care for him in the past 3 years, he might have died in the hands of pirates. Let alone activating the system. But this situation will completely change starting from today. Bai Yi, I'm very strong now. Colonel Vaughn, let me fight too. Vaughn looked serious and said, don't be ridiculous. When Bai Yi wanted to speak, Vaughn's expression softened and he continued, back then, your father died in the hands of pirates to save me. Before he died, he asked me to take good care of you. If something happens to you, how will you explain to your father after I die? Looking at Bai Yi, Vaughn had a complicated expression. It was precisely because of the battle 3 years ago that Bai Yi's father died in the hands of pirates to save himself. His right arm was also cut off in that battle, and his strength was not as good as before. If Byakuya could participate in marine training normally in the past 3 years, he would have some ability to protect himself when facing pirates. Nor would he object so much. But in the past 3 years, Vaughn has only seen Bai Yi's ineffective training. Once he encounters a pirate, he is probably destined to die. So he no longer expects Byakuya to become a real marine soldier. Vaughn touched Bai Yi's head with his rough hands and sighed softly, obey the order and stay in the room. Just as Bai Yi was about to explain the situation to Colonel Vaughn, a sharp voice suddenly sounded at the door. As expected, here, Colonel Vaughn, what you are doing is inappropriate, isn't it? The person who came was none other than Lieutenant Colonel Harry. He was tall and had a gloomy face. He was the second in command of the Marine branch and had never been very convinced by Vaughn's appointment. Almost everything has to be done against Vaughn. The people who had mocked Bai Yi before were now following Harry with disdain on their faces. Harry entered the door, his eyes looking at Vaughn's empty right arm unscrupulously, without any restraint. Vaughn didn't pay attention to Harry's almost provocative gaze, and said with a livid face, Lieutenant Colonel Harry, what do you mean by this? Harry looked at Bai Yoruichi's face and played with the taste. Colonel Vaughn, I remember that in the past 3 years, you said you would not let Bai Yi participate in the battle because he was not yet an adult, right? Vaughn's expression changed, as if he had thought of something, and he said in a low voice, that's what happened. Harry clapped his hands, narrowed his eyes and smiled, that's right, if I remember correctly, Bai Yi should have become an adult a few days ago, right? Bai Yi didn't refute, because Harry was indeed telling the truth. When Vaughn saw this, he couldn't help but sigh deeply. Seeing that the two of them were silent, Harry continued, so, it's time for Byakuya to do his part for Marine, right? Harry looked at Vaughn with a twinkle in his eyes. There was no grudge between him and Bai Yi, he just wanted to make Vaughn sick. Since Vaughn wanted to protect Bai Yi, he tried every means to put Bai Yi into danger. It's that simple. In his opinion, a cripple like Vaughn should have been removed from the position of colonel long ago. If you are not strong enough, give up your position as soon as possible. Over the years, through constant targeting of Vaughn, some Marine soldiers in the Marine base gradually only obeyed Harry's orders. If Colonel Vaughn hadn't been qualified enough, he would have been the first to fight against pirates and save the lives of many soldiers. Some old Marine soldiers are still more convinced of Colonel Vaughn. Otherwise, this Marine base would already have Harry's surname. Vaughn looked embarrassed, took a deep breath and said, Harry, I know you want to take my place, but there is no need for you to keep targeting Bai Yi, Harry interrupted unceremoniously, Colonel Vaughn, I'm just doing business. Vaughn hesitated for a moment and said, how about this? As long as you don't force Bai Yi to fight the pirates, after this battle is over, I will submit my resignation report to the superiors and recommend you to become the colonel of the Ski Island Marine branch. Quote. Harry was stunned for a moment, maybe because the surprise came too suddenly, and asked with some uncertainty, are you telling the truth? Vaughn nodded slowly, as if he had made up his mind, as long as you can ensure Bai Yi's safety, I can. Before Vaughn finished speaking, Bai Yi said decisively, I will participate in this battle. Kid, do you know what you are talking about? Harry's eyes narrowed slightly, revealing a dangerous aura, like a lion majesty ready to go, staring at the White Knight. Vaughn was also shocked by Bai Yi's words and quickly advised, Bai Yi, now is not the time to joke. You have to know that even I have no way to guarantee my survival in the face of pirates. Bai Yi nodded and said, don't worry, Colonel Vaughn. This is my own choice. Besides, I'm an adult now, so I can't live my whole life under your protection. And as a Marine soldier, it is our mission to resist pirates. If even we choose to escape, what will the residents of the island do? When Vaughn heard this, he did not persuade him any further. He knew that the child in front of him had completely grown up. Okay, now that you are ready, then join me in resisting the pirates. Then he turned to Harry and cursed, even a newly grown child knows the meaning of Marine better than you. If you are still trying to be clever at this time, I think you have lived like a dog in the past few decades. Harry's face was ashen with anger. He didn't expect that the duck that had reached his mouth could fly away. Looking at the furious Harry, Shiro Yoruichi smiled innocently and said, Lieutenant Colonel Harry, I'm going to gather at the dock and need to tidy up. Can you leave my house first? Harry did not speak, but took a deep look at Bai Yi, turned around and left. Although Vaughn was not forced to abdicate this time, Harry's action was not considered a failure. But he didn't expect that Bai Yi, a kid who was usually inconspicuous, could actually say those words. Harry said coldly, Humph. If you all want to die, then I will make it happen for you. Harry first pushed away the men who were following him, then walked to the shadow of the corner, took out a telephone bug from his arms, and dialed the number. Chapter 3 Harry's Plan. Advertise here. A moment later, an extremely arrogant voice came from the other end of the phone. Hey, call Lousy now. Are you going to change your plans? No, the plan remains the same, but I want Vaughn to die in this attack. The voice on the phone became playful. Ha ha ha, Lieutenant Colonel Harry, is there something wrong with your brain? Lousy is not your subordinate, and you have no right to ask Lousy to do things for you. Besides, what does the rivalry between you two Marines have to do with me, a pirate? Although he was humiliated many times by the person on the phone, Harry did not become angry, but was surprisingly calm. If you kill Vaughn, you will get 60% of what you get this time. 60%. Are you sending beggars away? Then how much do you want? The pirate on the other end of the phone said extremely greedily, Lousy wants them all. Harry, who had always been calm, was extremely angry at the pirate's greed. The veins on his forehead kept popping up, and he gritted his teeth and said, are you going a little too far? The pirate said calmly, too much. If Lieutenant Colonel Harry thinks I'm going too far, then we can terminate our cooperation. I will take my men away from Sky Island now, and you and Vaughn can fight slowly. As soon as the pirate said this, Harry immediately calmed down. Although he hated the pirate's greed, he now needed the pirate to help him get rid of Vaughn. Okay, then it's settled. Shui Lang hopes you won't let me down when the time comes. Ha ha ha, just prepare your things. If you can't even deal with the cripple Vaughn, then our Blood Wolf pirates will be disbanded. After hanging up the phone, Harry glanced at Bai Yi's room with dark eyes. You forced me to do this. ... Inside the room. Now that the matter has reached this point, Vaughn has not tried to persuade Bai Yi anymore. However, this was Bai Yi's first battle with pirates, so he still had to give due explanations. When we fight the pirates later, don't be stupid and rush to be the first one, and don't take the initiative to come to my side. Bai Yi nodded seriously, knowing that as Marine Colonel Vaughn, the enemy he needed to deal with was naturally the strongest among pirates. At that time, the closer you are, the faster you will die. It's just that Bai Yi now is completely different from before. Although Bai Yi has never actually taken action, judging from the situations in which he has seen Colonel Vaughn take action in the past, his strength should be above that of Colonel Vaughn. And Bai Yi thought about it carefully, and according to the plot of the anime, the strongest pirate in the East China Sea now is probably Pirate Admiral Creek, so there shouldn't be any surprises. Even if it's Crick, with my current strength, I should be able to completely solve it, right? If I explode completely, I will definitely scare Colonel Vaughn. Harry and his men certainly didn't expect that I was stronger than Colonel Vaughn. It would be really fun then. Quote. Oh, by then, will I have to take action with all my strength? Should I kill him with one punch? Or kill him with two punches? Will it arouse others' suspicion after taking action? What a headache. Seeing the changing expressions on Bai Yi's face, Vaughn thought that Bai Yi would be facing a vicious pirate for the first time, and he must be very worried. So he comforted him. Don't worry, I will arrange for other soldiers to take care of you when the time comes. Be careful, and you will definitely survive. But Bai Yi was completely immersed in thinking at this time, and didn't hear clearly what Vaughn was talking about. He just nodded subconsciously. Seeing this situation, Vaughn could only sigh softly, his eyes full of guilt. If it weren't for the fight between him and Harry, Bai Yi might not have been involved at all, and naturally he wouldn't have to worry about whether his life would be in danger later. However, Vaughn also made up his mind at this time. If there was a life and death crisis, he would die before the White Knight. Only in this way can he feel better inside. Walking to the door, he turned to look at Bai Yi, who was still looking serious, coughed lightly and said, "In half an hour, we will meet at the dock. We will discuss the specific situation then. You don't need to worry too much now." Oh, okay. Bai Yi was obviously a little absent-minded at this time and said casually. But Vaughn didn't care about this. As the top leader of the Marine base, he still has a lot to do now. After Colonel Vaughn left, Bai Yi came out of his thoughts. Although he felt that his strength was superior to Colonel Vaughn, Bai Yi was not completely sure. After all, feelings are just feelings after all. If it comes to a life and death fight, Bai Yi realizes that his feeling is wrong when he takes action, and there will be no place to cry. Thinking of this, Bai Yi returned to the previous training ground again. The originally lively training ground was deserted at this time, and almost all Marine soldiers gathered at the dock. This just makes it easier for Bai Yi to test his strength. Bai Yi took a deep breath and swung his right fist towards the east wall, leaving an afterimage in the air. A violent fist wind suddenly emerged and galloped away. The next moment, there was a boom sound, and the wall collapsed instantly as if it had suffered a heavy blow, forming a gap more than 3 meters wide. The surrounding walls were covered with cracks like spider webs and were crumbling. This is so awesome. Bai Yi looked at his hands in disbelief, his face full of uncontrollable excitement. After being a loser for so many years, I finally turned around. When Bai Yi came to the edge of the pier, all the soldiers from the Marine branch arrived. It's just that the atmosphere seems extremely strange, and the Marine soldiers present can be divided into 2 groups. Nearly 70% of the people stood behind Harry, while the remaining 30% stood on Vaughn's side. It can be seen from the number of people in the 2 groups that Harry has the absolute initiative. Although Vaughn is still the top leader of the Ski Island Marine branch base, he is actually in name only. Seeing this situation, Vaughn could only feel sad. If he hadn't broken his right arm while fighting pirates 3 years ago, his strength would have dropped a lot. And Harry has also steadily improved in the past few years, and his strength has surpassed Vaughn. And he tried his best to win over Marine soldiers and divide the power in Vaughn's hands. Otherwise, Harry would never dare to be so arrogant in front of Vaughn. Seeing the pirate ship on the sea getting closer and closer, Vaughn couldn't care less about these miscellaneous things. He yelled an order. All Marine soldiers obey the order. Wait until the enemy ship comes into range, then launch an attack. However, things developed beyond Vaughn's expectation. Except for the soldiers behind him, the people on Harry's side stood unmoved as if a restraining spell had been cast. Chapter 4 Blood Wolf Pirates. Advertise here. Vaughn's face instantly turned as black as the bottom of a pot, and he was furious. He could tolerate Harry's usual disgusting behavior. But he couldn't accept that in the face of such a critical situation as the pirate invasion, Harry was still playing tricks. Vaughn scolded with a livid face, "Harry, what on earth do you mean?" Harry said calmly, "It's not interesting, I just want to say that if someone doesn't have the strength they deserve, they shouldn't sit in a position they shouldn't. You see, most Marine soldiers understand this." Harry's eyes flashed with murderous intent, and his words were full of threats. However, at this time, the pirate ship was getting closer and closer. You can even clearly see the bloody wolf head skull flag hanging on the mast, fluttering in the wind, and the bright red mark on the wolf's head, which seems to be drawn with blood. This is the flag of the Blood Wolf Pirates. The Blood Wolf is coming. Some soldiers who recognized the pirate flag shouted in panic. As soon as this was said, the rest of the Marine soldiers panicked, and the entire dock became a mess. All the Marine soldiers looked frightened and dumbfounded, and some even couldn't even hold the gun in their hands. If there were to be a real fight later, depending on their performance, it was possible that the gun would go off and hit the teammates around them. Even Vaughn's expression was a little panicked, and his remaining left arm subconsciously clenched the saber at his waist. Bai Yi looked at everyone's panic and asked in confusion, "What kind of blood wolf is this? Is he very powerful?" Vaughn nodded heavily. "It's not a question of whether he's powerful or not. This guy Shui Lang has only been at sea for 3 months, and the reward amount is as high as 15 million Baileys. It is said that he is a user with animal devil fruit abilities. His methods are ruthless and ruthless. All the towns he attacked were wiped out without leaving any survivors. We are really in danger now." An uneasy atmosphere began to spread among the crowd. Bai Yi raised his eyes to look at the blood wolf pirates on the sea, with a thoughtful light flashing in his eyes. He subconsciously clenched his right fist and murmured, "A character with 15 million Baileys should be able to block my punch." Bar. ... The follower behind Harry asked in a panic, "Boss, are we really not going to take action? This is a blood wolf. This kind of butcher has never left anyone alive." Harry looked at the person who asked the question indifferently, and a strong killing intent burst out from his body. "What? Is my words useless?" No. The attendant was instantly frightened into a cold sweat and did not dare to say another word. Harry's face looked uncertain, although he didn't know if it was right to go to this point. But he knew that if he didn't take this step, there would be absolutely no way out for him. Only if Vaughn dies will he have the chance to become the colonel of the Marine branch. The blood wolf suddenly attacked and at the same time restrained nearly 70% of the Marine soldiers from taking action, all in order to successfully let Vaughn die in this battle. After Vaughn dies, the blood wolf will definitely be injured, and he will take the opportunity to kill the blood wolf to show his strength and consolidate his prestige. In this case, even if you don't take action before, as long as you successfully kill the blood wolf in the end, others will have nothing to say. This plan kills 2 birds with 1 stone. As for what was said before, all the looted materials were given to the blood wolf, it was just empty talk. When the blood wolf dies, will those things still need to be burned for him? However, just as Harry was making his wishful thinking in his mind, shouts came from the direction of the blood wolf pirates. "Lieutenant Colonel Harry, didn't you say you wanted to attack Vaughn together? Lousy is here now, why don't you show off?" Blood wolf's arrogant words immediately spread throughout the coast. "What, Lieutenant Colonel Harry, is this true?" "No way." There was a moment of commotion among the Marines. F*K, blood wolf is such a F*King idiot. Harry's expression remained unchanged, but he cursed angrily in his heart. If the blood wolf hadn't said anything, Harry could still fish in troubled waters secretly and reduce his own losses. It's good now, everything is exposed. Although Shui Lang's words now have a sense of sowing discord, everyone has to think about the authenticity of Shui Lang's words. But Vaughn, who knew Harry best, combined Blood Wolf's words with what happened before, and was almost certain that 99% of what Blood Wolf said was true. Vaughn couldn't bear it anymore and quickly stepped forward and grabbed Harry by the collar. Staring angrily, he shouted, "Is this all true?" Harry grabbed Vaughn's arm with one hand, and with a strong force, he threw Vaughn's right hand away. He slowly straightened out his wrinkled collar and said calmly, "What is true? What is false? Now that pirates are attacking, you actually doubt me, who is also a Marine, because of what the pirates said. I said everything Blood Wolf said was false, are you willing to believe me?" Vaughn said solemnly, "I am willing. As long as you and I work together to resist the Blood Wolf pirates, I can pretend that nothing has happened." Just when Harry was about to reply, Blood Wolf's arrogant words came again. "Lieutenant Colonel Harry, if you don't take action, I will turn around and leave." Harry's expression changed and he said coldly, "I won't be involved in this matter." "Harry." Vaughn looked shocked, his eyes full of disbelief, "You actually colluded with pirates?" Harry interrupted unceremoniously, "Colonel Vaughn wants evidence. Did you see that I colluded with the pirates? When the report is written after the war, it will only be written that Colonel Vaughn died in the attack of the Blood Wolf pirates, while Lieutenant Colonel Harry led the Marine soldiers to successfully repel the Blood Wolf pirates. You." Vaughn's eyes were splitting. If the Blood Wolf pirates weren't so close, he would have killed Harry first. The Blood Wolf looked at the messy scene among the Marine soldiers on the coast and showed a proud smile. Harry used him as a swordsman, and he didn't use Harry as a swordsman. If he were to deal with Harry and Vaughn alone, there would be almost no chance of victory. But it's hard to say now. You must know that Ski Island is relatively wealthy among the surrounding islands, and Blood Wolf has been coveting it for a long time. When the time comes, Vaughn will be dealt with first. Even if Harry is going to take advantage of the situation, it will still depend on who has the tougher wrist. Blood Wolf doesn't think he will lose. Now the situation became clear. Now it is obvious that Harry and Blood Wolf are working together to get rid of Vaughn. The gap in strength between the two sides is too great. Vaughn's current situation is said to be a narrow escape from death, which can be regarded as worthy of Vaughn. Even at this point, Harry did not forget to further attack Vaughn, and threatened the soldiers behind Vaughn. "After all, we are all Marines. I can give you a chance to live now. As long as you stand in the team behind me, I can save your life." Chapter 5 Punch Out. Everyone is shocked. Advertise here. Even if some soldiers are unwilling to associate with pirates, in such a situation, if they want to survive, they can only choose to join Harry. Furthermore, Lieutenant Colonel Harry did not explain that he had joined forces with the Blood Wolf, and Lieutenant Colonel Harry was the second in command of the Marine base. Taking refuge with Lieutenant Colonel Harry was not considered a betrayal of Marine. With this self-deceptive idea, many people make their choice immediately. The people behind Harry did not move at all, while nearly 20% of the soldiers behind Vaughn ran behind Harry. Some of the people leaving were standing at the end of Harry's team, not daring to look up at Vaughn, while others looked rejoicing, as if they were happy that they had escaped. In a moment, less than 10% of the soldiers were left behind Vaughn, almost all of them veterans who had followed Vaughn over the years. Vaughn looked at the soldiers who kept leaving, with a complicated expression and a bit depressed, but he did not speak to dissuade them. He has no right to ask others to give up their lives and follow him. Harry looked at the frustrated Vaughn and laughed wildly. Ha ha ha, you made the right choice, because only in this way can you save your lives. For Harry, the current situation is becoming more and more favorable to him. Bai Yi sighed as he looked at the complicated situation in front of him. Everyone thinks that they are on the second level and others are on the first level. Harry and the Blood Wolf plot against each other, but in fact, Bai Yi is standing on the fifth floor. As long as the strength is strong enough, no amount of calculations will be in vain. At this time, Harry noticed Bai Yi, who was still standing behind Vaughn, and couldn't help but sarcastically said, "Hey, kid, you're still standing next to Vaughn. It seems like you're really not afraid of death. I remember this was your first time in combat, right? Do you know what death feels like? Have you ever experienced the feeling of a bullet entering your body? You are still young, and you have a lot of beautiful youth to squander. There is no need to follow Vaughn, a dying man. As long as you are willing to follow me, I can guarantee that you can live a good life, at least, you won't be a short-lived ghost." Quote. After saying that, Harry looked at Vaughn with a playful expression. Harry knew that Vaughn was very fond of Bai Yi. If at this time, even Bai Yi would choose to betray Vaughn. So for Vaughn, it is definitely a heavy blow. Vaughn let out a long sigh, looked at the somewhat immature Bai Yi behind him, and couldn't bear to say, "Harry is right, you are still young, there is no need to die with a cripple like me. Go and join Harry. After I die, Harry will naturally have no interest in targeting you. You can choose to live as an ordinary person." Quote. Harry said seductively, "That's right. For the sake of your life, Bai Yi, you should come to me. At the very least, you can survive by following me." Listening to the words of the two of them, Bai Yi seemed to have made his own decision and walked slowly in the direction of Harry. The veterans behind Vaughn cursed in a low voice, "White-eyed wolf. Colonel Vaughn has been so kind to you, but you actually chose to betray him at such a critical moment. Bai Yi, do you think you can survive if you take refuge in Harry?" Quote. Vaughn looked at Bai Yi's back with a bit of pain in his eyes, but he breathed a sigh of relief in his heart and stopped the words of the old people behind him. Harry smiled even more proudly when he saw this. Ha ha ha, Vaughn, look at it, even Bai Yi, who you have taken care of for many years, chose to betray you. What a terrible captain you are as a Marine. Just when the two sides were arguing endlessly, halfway through the White Night, they suddenly stopped. Bai Yi said calmly, "Master Harry, don't you feel like a clown? I was originally thinking about what reason I should use to kill you, but I didn't expect that you gave me the reason yourself. Colliding with pirates to murder Colonel Marine, such a serious crime, even if you were killed on the spot, it shouldn't be an exaggeration, right?" As soon as Bai Yi said this, the whole place fell into silence. Harry looked at Bai Yi's ancient eyes and felt an inexplicable palpitation in his heart. Vaughn was also startled by Bai Yi's arrogant words. The loser behind Harry stood up, pointed his gun at Bai Yi, and said disdainfully, "Haha, you're just a loser and you dare to talk so loudly. If Lieutenant Colonel Harry hadn't wanted to spare your life, believe it or not, I would have killed you right now." Quote. Before he finished speaking, Bai Yi's legs suddenly exerted force, and, boom, two pits appeared on the ground instantly, and the figure disappeared from everyone's sight. Bai Yi's speed was so fast that there was only an afterimage, and even Harry couldn't capture Bai Yi's position. The next second, Harry only felt a warm feeling coming from the right side of his face, and he turned around mechanically. The soldier who spoke before turned into a headless corpse. The warm feeling on his face was the blood splattered on his face. The blood mist in the sky was blown by the sea breeze and fell on the faces of 90% of the soldiers behind them. The headless corpse collapsed. The scene fell into deathly silence. No one thought that Bai Yi, who was usually like a waste in the eyes of everyone, could be so powerful. "Master Harry, haven't you taught him that children should not interrupt when adults are talking?" Bai Yi stood next to Harry, with a harmless smile on his face. A few drops of scarlet blood splashed onto his fair face, looking extremely terrifying. "How is this possible?" Harry subconsciously took a few steps back and said these words tremblingly, as if he had exhausted all his strength. "How come your strength is so strong?" Not only Harry, but even Vaughn was dumbfounded now, and even once wondered if he was dreaming. With the strength Bai Yi showed just now, even himself in his heyday might not be a match. At this point, Harry seemed to understand something. He turned to look at Vaughn and said sternly, "Vaughn, you have known Bai Yi's strength for a long time, right? It turns out that all of this was part of your plan. I didn't expect it. I didn't expect it. You, who have always been brave and foolhardy, actually learn to hide your tricks. Quote. Vaughn was dizzy after what Harry said, with a confused look on his face. Yeah, F*K, it turns out I already knew Bai Yi's strength. Did I really arrange all this? Or am I dreaming now? Not only Harry thought so, but even the old people behind Vaughn also had the same idea. Lord Vaughn, you really hide your secrets. No wonder you didn't stop those people from leaving before. It turned out that you wanted to see who would choose to leave at the critical moment. What a clever strategy. Frank, I remember you just called Bai Yi a white-eyed wolf. Frank glared at the person who spoke, wishing he could kick him on the spot, and then quickly defended, I didn't know before that this was all arranged by Lord Vaughn, and those who don't know are not guilty. Besides, my scolding doesn't make it more true. Not to mention, after seeing Bai Yi's strength, Frank really felt a little guilty. He was afraid that Bai Yi was a petty person and would regret scolding him. What would he do if he really caused trouble for him? The few people kept chatting, and the atmosphere gradually relaxed, no longer looking forward to death as before. The situation began to change subtly. Chapter 6 Never Die in Peace. Advertise here. The strength shown by Bai Yi was unexpected, but the plan had reached this point, and Harry had to continue executing it no matter what. There was no way out for him. Harry shouted in a stern voice, Vaughn, I didn't want to take action at first, but you forced me to do this. I forced you. What did I do? I didn't even say King word, so you blame me for everything. Isn't it a bit unreasonable? Also, you all said it was me who arranged it. I'll arrange a hammer. I don't even know Bai Yi is so strong. Vaughn was confused and continued to be confused. Bai Yi also felt funny looking at Vaughn's appearance, but he was not prepared to explain anything. Let everyone think that he is Vaughn's backup plan. In this case, even if he shows all his strength, everyone will only doubt Vaughn. And no one would ask Bai Yi about this matter. In other words, Vaughn has taken the blame. At this time, Harry already understood that if he didn't take action, he would have to wait for death, so he ordered his subordinates, all of them, take action and deal with Bai Yi first. Then he shouted towards the coast, Blood Wolf, I have already taken action as agreed, you should take action quickly. The Blood Wolf listened to Harry's somewhat anxious voice, then looked at the messy shore, with a bloodthirsty smile on his face. Young ones, get ready to reap the fruits of victory. Almost everyone on the Blood Wolf ship had their hands stained with the blood of several people. When they heard that they could start killing, they all became excited, their eyes were scarlet. Don't worry, boss, Laozi is so tired of not killing anyone for several days. We are the best at killing people. The vice captain next to Shui Lang asked in a low voice, Boss, do you want to kill all Marines? The Blood Wolf said calmly, first deal with the Marine on Vaughn's side, and finally deal with the Marine on Harry's side. But, boss, didn't you and Harry make an agreement? The Blood Wolf glanced at the vice captain and said disdainfully, we are pirates, do we still have to stick to the agreement with Marine? If you want to do it, just do it big. When both sides are solved, the entire ski island will be ours. The vice captain nodded and said nothing, and then began to arrange his men to prepare for the attack. Sure. Under Harry's order, hundreds of Marine soldiers pointed their guns at the White Knight in the center. Hundreds of dark muzzles make people feel heart palpitated just looking at them. However, Bai Yi remained motionless, with no trace of panic on his young face. It's funny to say that the incoming pirates were not far from the sea, but Marine on the coast pointed his gun at Bai Yi, who was also a Marine. Such a scene made Vaughn feel sad, but also worried about Bai Yi's safety. Vaughn stopped him and said, Harry, don't make the same mistake again and again. If you are willing to fight against the pirates with me, then I can pretend that this incident never happened. When Harry heard that Vaughn was willing to let him go, he was stunned for a moment, then laughed and said, Vaughn, do you really think you will win? I didn't expect Bai Yi's strength to be so strong. You really hid it very deeply. When Vaughn heard this, he rolled his eyes at Harry angrily and thought to himself, how deep should I hide it? I'll hide your grandma's legs. But I have nearly 300 soldiers here, plus me, it will be no problem to deal with Bai Yi. Coupled with the Blood Wolf pirates, I will never lose no matter what, and you actually persuaded me to surrender. It seems that you are still an idiot as before. Vaughn saw that Harry was determined, and then looked at the surrounded Bai Yi, knowing that he couldn't wait any longer. Bai Yi must be rescued before the Blood Wolf pirates land. Otherwise, he would be attacked from two sides and even more unable to withstand it. Get ready to take action. We must find a way to rescue Bai Yi before the Blood Wolf pirates attack. Frank and the others stopped joking and became serious. Harry quickly backed away, distanced himself from Bai Yi, and sneered, Kid, you are very strong. Even stronger than me, but no matter how strong you are, you can't beat more than 300 of us. Harry yelled, do it. More than 300 soldiers fired at Bai Yi at the same time, with dazzling flames emerging from the dark muzzles, and orange bullets rushed towards Bai Yi like a torrent. But a scene that stunned everyone appeared. Bai Yi was as flexible as a loach, dodging countless bullets. Monster. He is not a human being at all, he is not Bai Yi. The betrayed soldiers had never seen such a scene before, and they were all frightened out of their wits by Bai Yi. Bai Yi appeared in front of Harry in almost the blink of an eye and sneered, "The number of people is not worth mentioning in the face of absolute strength." Harry looked at the ghostly white knight in front of him and was frightened, but his years of combat experience still allowed him to react. Harry drew out the sword from his waist, slashed it down hard, gritted his teeth and said, "Kid, do you have to seek death?" Bai Yi raised his left hand and grabbed the sword directly, sarcastically saying, "Why do I think you are the one seeking death?" The veins in Harry's arms popped out as he tried to pull the sword out of Bai Yi's hand. But the sword seemed to have taken root in Bai Yi's hand. No matter how hard Harry tried, it still didn't move. Harry's face turned red in panic. "You want it?" Bai Yi said with a smile on his face. He exerted force with his left hand and crushed the sword into pieces, causing the sharp fragments to fly in the air. The sword suddenly shattered, and Harry had no time to stop his strength and fell backwards. "Then I'll give it back to you." Bai Yi picked out a larger piece from the debris in the air, held it in his right hand, tensed his muscles, and threw it directly towards Harry. The fragments were as fast as a stream of light, passing through Harry's body in an instant and falling to the ground, exploding a deep pit nearly 3 meters deep. The ground trembled slightly, and the sky was filled with smoke and dust. When the smoke dissipated, Harry was lying on the ground lifeless, with a wound the size of a bowl opening in his heart, his eyes wide open, and a look of horror and confusion on his face. Perhaps until the moment of death, he still couldn't understand why Bai Yi, with his strength, had to endure the humiliation of others for 3 years. "It wasn't until today that I chose to show off my strength." It's a pity that no one will answer this question for him. But that might be a good thing for Harry. If only he knew that Bai Yi had been a waste for the past 3 years and had no strength at all. It's just that the system happened to be successfully activated today and it has strong strength. But he chose this moment to unite with the Blood Wolf pirates to attack Vaughn, and directly hit Bai Yi's gun. This is really a clever gate of opening given by my mother. What a coincidence. If he knew the truth, Harry would probably be able to stage a resurrection from the dead on the spot and become angry. Chapter 7 An Unexpected Discovery. Advertise here. From the time Bai Yi stood up and walked towards Harry to the time he successfully killed Harry, less than 5 minutes had passed. But within these 5 minutes, the situation had undergone earth-shaking changes. Everyone's mood was like riding a roller coaster, with ups and downs. It's just that before, it was Vaughn's side lying down and Harry's side getting up, but now it's become Vaughn's side getting up, Harry's side being down. After seeing Bai Yi kill Harry within seconds, even the Blood Wolf, who was famous for his bloodthirsty and cruelty, couldn't help but take a breath. He cursed angrily in his mind, "Won't Harry investigate this villain first? Laozi was also implicated. Deserves to be killed." Blood Wolf knew in his heart that once Harry died, he would probably not be a match for that guy with his own strength. Plus that old guy Vaughn is still there, and it will be death if he does it again. Seeing that the momentum was not right, Shui Lang did not hesitate at all and immediately ordered loudly, "Quick, turn around and leave this place quickly." Yes, turn around quickly. Even the Blood Wolf is so scared, and the pirates under his command have long been frightened out of their wits. Seeing that the boat was approaching the shore, the next moment it made a 180-degree U-turn and accelerated away in the opposite direction. Before, I hoped that the ship would drive faster, land as soon as possible, massacre Marine, and search for money. Now I wish I could give the ship wings, get as far away as possible, and leave that dangerous man as soon as possible. This can no longer be described as, "I took off my pants, but my girlfriend said, my aunt is here." But after you took off your pants, took a shower, and brought all your equipment, you realized that the person lying on the bed was not your delicate girlfriend, but a vicious female ghost. If you don't scare him to death on the spot, you have a strong psychological quality. On the coast, the soldiers who had chosen to stand behind Harry were all so frightened that they did not dare to breathe. At this time, an ethereal voice suddenly sounded in Bai Yi's mind. "Get 1 point of world source power." Quote question mark. Is this okay? Bai Yi was stunned. He didn't expect that killing a piece of trash like Harry would bring world power into his account. What an unexpected surprise. Bai Yexuan is about to set his sights on those betrayed soldiers. A lieutenant colonel like Harry only had 1 point of world source power, and these soldiers together probably didn't have much world source power. But no matter how small a mosquito is, it's still meat. For such a betrayed person, Bai Yi would kill him without any psychological burden. This is all precious world source power. More than 300 Marines who were surrounded by the white Yoruichi seemed to feel the killing intent emanating from Byakuya. Thinking of Byakuya's terrifying strength, they were so frightened that they could not even stand still. Just as Bai Yi was about to take action, he heard Vaughn shouting, "No, that guy Blood Wolf wants to run away." Bai Yi turned around and saw that the pirate ship was getting farther and farther away. Originally, for Byakuya, the Blood Wolf pirates just ran away and he didn't bother to chase them. But killing people can also gain world source power, so they can't let go of the Blood Wolf. "Colonel Vaughn, keep an eye on these people who are colluding with the pirates, and don't let them escape. Leave the Blood Wolf to me." Vaughn nodded and said, "That's no problem. It's just that the Blood Wolf is several miles away from us. If we start chasing after him now, I'm afraid we won't be able to catch up, right?" After seeing Bai Yi's strength, Vaughn felt much more relieved about Bai Yi. This was no longer the child he needed to worry about. Bai Yi smiled and said, "This is simple." He leaned forward, exerted force on his legs, and then like a cannonball shooting out, his whole body rose into the air. The moment Bai Yi stood up, the ground trembled slightly, and waves formed on the nearby sea surface. "This is okay, the little guy is too strong." Vaughn was stunned when he saw Bai Yi's disappearing figure. Then he changed his mind and thought about it, saying, "Why is this little guy so strong? Is it because of Bai Yi's training method? I will give it a try when I get back, and by the way, I will promote this method and see if I can also cultivate a few strong people." Shui Lang turned his head and looked at Sichi Island, which was getting farther and farther away, and the uneasiness in his heart gradually subsided. "Damn it, I didn't expect there to be such a strong person in Marine. Fortunately, Laozi can run fast," Shui Lang said with a happy face. The vice captain said with lingering fear, "Yes. Who would have thought that there would be such a fierce man on Ski Island? This trip was in vain. I didn't get any benefits at all, and I almost lost my life. In all the years Laozi has been out at sea, when has he ever suffered such a loss?" One of his subordinates came up and asked, "Boss, where are we going now?" "Just find a nearby island. Laozi is very angry right now and needs to vent his anger." The blood wolf waved his hands impatiently, his face full of uncontrollable madness. He actually came after me." At this moment, a tragic cry suddenly came from his subordinates' mouths. Dozens of pirates screamed like frightened girls, their faces pale. Those who didn't know better thought they were innocent victims. The blood wolf looked back at the sky, his pupils narrowed, and there was a tiny black shadow in the sky blocking the direct sunlight. Taking a closer look, the black shadow was clearly Bai Yi, who had killed Harry within 3 seconds. Even the blood wolf, which had killed countless people, was extremely frightened after seeing such a quick death. The blood wolf immediately yelled, "Damn it! That kid actually dared to catch up and tell the helmsman to turn quickly and increase the speed to the fastest. Quick, turn the direction." The entire ship instantly changed direction and began to move to the right at full speed. Seeing this, Bai Yi sneered, "Run. No one can escape." When he was falling, he stepped heavily on the water, causing water columns several meters high to rise from the sea, and he rose into the air again. A few seconds later, Bai Yi landed on the bow of the ship. Bang! The whole ship was almost overturned by Bai Yi. The members of the Blood Wolf pirates watched Bai Yi appear, and a sense of terrifying despair eroded their sanity. Every time Bai Yi took a step, the pirates took a step back with panic on their faces. This step was like stepping on their hearts, frightening them. "You, don't come over. If you come here again, we will take action." Shui Lang pretended to be calm and said, "What exactly do you want to do? I didn't take action against you, why are you chasing after me?" Bai Yi smiled and said, "Because you are all precious wealth." "Wealth?" Shui Lang's eyes lit up and he said with heartache, "I am willing to give you all the treasures on the ship, I just hope you can spare our lives." In the Blood Wolf's view, leaving a life is more important than anything else. As long as I have my life, I can just grab back those lost Baileys. Even avenging today's revenge is not impossible. Chapter 8 Post-War Processing. Advertise here. If possible, Shui Lang even wanted to take out all the treasures and quickly let Bai Yi leave his boat. In the expectant eyes of all the pirates, Bai Yi slowly shook his head and said, "No, to me, your greatest wealth is not Bailey, but your lives." As he spoke, an afterimage flashed by, and the pirates in front instantly exploded into a ball of blood mist. The Blood Wolf immediately yelled, "Brothers, come on." After knowing that Bai Yi would not let them go, all the pirates burst out with the ferocity they had suppressed before, and rushed towards Bai Yi in a swarm. Blood Wolf also did not hesitate to activate the fruit ability and transform into a werewolf form, which is his strongest state. The body swelled up like a balloon, bursting all the clothes on the body, and the gray-white hair grew crazily, covering the face as well, leaving only a pair of bright yellow vertical pupils, which looked extremely strange. The nails on the 10 fingers are more than 30 centimeters long, like 10 daggers, shining with a dazzling cold light in the sun. However, he did not choose to take action together with his men. Instead, he first let his men consume Bai Yi's strength while he waited for the opportunity. Every time Bai Yi threw a punch, a pirate would be killed on the spot, and no one could stop him for a moment. When Bai Yi appeared in front of Shui Lang, there were messy corpses lying on the deck. The floor was soaked with blood, like hell on earth. Shui Lang looked at Bai Yi who was walking towards him, and did not take action immediately, but instead begged, "How can you let me go? As long as you let me go, I can cooperate with you and hand over every treasure I plunder to you." I said, "To me, your life is the most valuable." Bai Yi gets closer and closer, the smile on his face is like the boy next door, looking harmless. The Blood Wolf knew he was outmatched, but in this situation he had no choice but to fight to the death. "Since you are unwilling to let me go, then just go to hell." The Blood Wolf was the first to take action. He thrust his claws hard on the ground and directly scratched through the deck. The body suddenly appeared on Bai Yi's left side, and the sharp wolf claws on his right hand drew 5 silver-white arcs towards Bai Yi at extremely weird angles. "Die to Laozi." Shui Lang said with a ferocious smile. Bai Yi narrowed his eyes slightly, and for a moment he could actually feel the coolness coming from his skin, with a slight tingling sensation like needles. It seems that this 1% of strength can only have a certain self-protection ability in the weakest East China Sea. I must quickly improve my integration level. The wolf's claws cut across the white knight in front of him without any obstruction, passing directly through the body, but the scene of blood splattering that the blood wolf expected did not happen. Is this the afterimage of that guy? Where is this guy hiding now? A terrifying thought suddenly appeared in Shui Lang's mind, and then he desperately tried to leave the place he was just now, as if he had seen a ghost. I only heard Bai Yi's cold voice behind me. Bai Yi's eyes were emotionless and he said calmly, I hope your value can be greater. At this moment, Shui Lang deeply experienced how disparate the strength gap between the two sides was. The blood wolf didn't even have time to react, and his chest had turned into a huge hole, with flesh and blood flying everywhere. It wasn't until he killed the blood wolf that Bai Yi had the time to look at the system prompts that kept ringing in his mind. Acquire 0.01 points of world source power. Acquire 0.02 points of world source power. Acquire 0.01 points of world source power. Open black lens bracket. Close black lens bracket. Get 2 points of world source power. 0.01. 2. Isn't that too little? No matter how bad the blood wolf is, he is still a devil fruit user. The reward is 15 million belly. Bai Yi frowned and opened the system panel. Open black lens bracket host. Bai Yi close black lens bracket. Template. One Punch Man, Saitama. Fusion degree, 1%. World source power, 4. The redemption store is not open. At this moment, Bai Yi wondered if the system had taken a kickback. Good guy, you can kill 50 or 60 people in exchange for 4 points of world source power. Human life is so worthless. System, I want to increase the degree of integration and how much world source power is needed to open the exchange store. Fusion degree 1% 2%, requires world source power, 10. Opening the exchange store requires world source power, 100. Seeing this huge value, Bai Yi felt that his trigeminal nerve hurt. This is really a long journey. Fortunately, Bai Yi's current strength is sufficient. There is no need to worry for a while. Later, Bai Yi discovered more than 20 million belly and treasures worth 7 to 8 million belly in the blood wolf's bedroom. Tisk, tisk, such garbage can steal so much wealth, no wonder most people want to be pirates. With a wave of his hand, Bailey and the treasure were all loaded into the system space. Then he sank the ship with a few punches and returned to Ski Island. Seeing Bai Yi returning so quickly, Vaughn was somewhat surprised and took the initiative to greet him. Is everything resolved? Yeah, kill them all. Bai Yi nodded. Hearing this, Vaughn was also secretly frightened. He thought it would be good if Bai Yi chased after him and killed a few fish. After all, it was a complete pirate group. But who would have thought that Bai Yi would catch up and kill them all without even escaping? Bai Yi didn't pay attention to Vaughn's expression, but pointed at the more than 300 Marine soldiers in custody and asked, how are these guys going to deal with it? Hearing that they were going to be dealt with, many soldiers also begged. Colonel Vaughn, I have followed you since I first joined the Marine Corps and have killed more than a dozen pirates. Please spare me once. Colonel, I was just deceived by Harry and was confused for a moment, so I chose to follow him. Please give me another chance. Yes, my family is still on the island. My child is only 3 years old. I also want to protect the residents of the island. Quote. Hearing the soldiers pleading, Vaughn looked embarrassed, paused and said, this. I haven't thought about it yet. After all, we are all soldiers who have trained together for many years. We have fought against pirates together before, which is a great contribution to Sky Island. When the more than 300 soldiers heard Vaughn's words, they couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, with expressions of joy on their faces. Especially after following Harry for many years and humiliating Bai Yi and others from time to time in the past few years, he even shouted in his heart that he was lucky. Several of them looked up at Bai Yi with flashing eyes, fear mixed with a bit of resentment. In their opinion, if Bai Yi hadn't suddenly shown amazing strength and killed Harry, how could they end up in their current situation? But when Bai Yi looked at those people quickly lowered their heads, fearing that Bai Yi could see the dissatisfaction in their hearts. Bai Yi looked back and said with a smile, Colonel Vaughn, since you don't know how to handle it, let me handle it. How about it? After thinking for a while, Vaughn said, I am indeed a little tired now, so I will leave this matter to you to decide. Don't worry, I will take care of it. Chapter 9 Jumping 7 levels in a row. Advertise here. Bai Yi walked slowly towards the detained soldiers, with a bloodthirsty smile on his face. He said coldly, shoot and kill all these people. What? Everyone present looked at Bai Yi with disbelief. Even Vaughn, who had already left, stopped. This. Bai Yi, do you really want to kill them all? The soldiers in charge of the execution were stunned. These soldiers in front of them might have called them brothers and laughed and joked with them yesterday. Today, I will kill them all. This sense of gap is not acceptable to everyone. Bai Yi sneered unceremoniously, if it weren't for me standing up to kill Harry, you would be the ones deciding life and death now. Do you think they will spare your lives then? I didn't expect you are still hesitating now. I really don't know what to say. Bai Yi's words reached everyone's ears clearly. Vaughn knew that what Bai Yi said was right. If Harry won this time, just because they knew that Harry and others were colluding with the pirates, Harry would never let them go. But knowing that he knew it, Vaughn still had no choice but to kill all these more than 300 soldiers. After all, some of the soldiers' relatives were still on Ski Island. If they were really executed, how would Vaughn face their relatives? Ahem. Bai Yi, come here for a moment. Bai Yi looked at Vaughn's troubled face and knew that Vaughn was not willing to be cruel. Bai Yi, are you really ready to execute them all? Of course, they are all people who have betrayed. If they can betray once, they can betray a second time. Keeping them will cause a lot of troubles. It's better to take advantage of this time and deal with it directly. But if we kill them all, our marine strength will be reduced by more than half. If there is another pirate invasion, then we. As Vaughn talked, he felt something was wrong. As long as Bai Yi was there, it didn't make much difference whether there was marine on the island or not. Vaughn looked up and saw Bai Yi's expression of wanting to laugh but holding back, and immediately slapped Bai Yi on the back of Yoruichi's head angrily. Co-author. This kid knows everything. He knows that he is not willing to kill everyone, so he is just waiting to see Lao Zi's joke. Bai Yi, tell me honestly, are you really ready to get rid of them all? Bai Yi nodded, but after looking at Vaughn's tangled look, he couldn't help but said, Colonel Vaughn, if you really can't bear it, we can only kill some of the people and let go of the others. For example, those who followed Harry in the first place must be dealt with. As for those who chose to follow Harry before, we can let them choose to commit crimes and meritorious services. Do you think this is okay? Vaughn thought for a while and felt that this was quite reasonable. After all, people always have to pay the corresponding price for their choices. After Bai Yi left, Vaughn quickly put his slightly red and swollen right hand to his mouth and blew on it, saying with a painful expression, the back of this kid's head is so hard, it hurts lousy. In front of the imprisoned soldiers, Bai Yi specifically expressed his plea to Colonel Vaughn, so he was willing to let go of those who followed Harry. This made the soldiers couldn't help but be grateful to Vaughn, saying that they would obey Vaughn's orders in the future. This made Vaughn happy and a little relieved. After all, this was Bai Yi's kindness. At this time, the remaining prisoners were all panicked. Even if someone stands up to resist. Brothers, you're going to die anyway, so why not fight? Bang! A bullet passed through the speaker's mouth, killing him instantly. Bai Yi threw the gun with the muzzle still emitting fine smoke to the soldier beside him. Kill them all. After Bai Yi said this, the soldiers still raised their guns even though there was a bit of vulnerability in their eyes. Aiming at these people who were companions an hour ago. Intensive gunshots were heard endlessly, and flowers of blood bloomed. The same goes for the system prompts. Acquire 0.01 points of world source power. Acquire 0.02 points of world source power. Acquire 0.03 points of world source power. Open black lens bracket. Close black lens bracket. This is because they are the people I ordered to kill, so they are also considered the source of world power, even if I didn't do it myself. In this case, the operability is too great. Open black lens bracket host. Bai close black lens bracket. Template. One Punch Man, Saitama. Fusion degree. 1%. World source power. 6. The redemption store is not open. In less than a day, I gained 6 points of world source power. The harvest is not small. Bai Yi turned off the system panel and said silently. Now it's time to plan the way forward. When I first obtained the system, I learned how to obtain the source power of the world. Bai Yi had a plan in mind. After experiencing this day, Bai Yi became clear about his future path. That is to become stronger and take charge. Become the most powerful person in the entire pirate world. If anyone refuses to obey, punch them down. One word can save countless lives and deaths. Only in this way can Bai Yi be able to obtain more world source power. Now that I Am has not yet appeared, the most powerful people on the surface are the 5 elders and the celestial dragons who claim to be gods. But in fact, Bai Yi didn't think so. As the saying goes, whoever has the biggest fist is right. Which celestial dragon dares to hang out in front of the 4 emperors? The reason why the pirate 4 emperors can live freely in the new world is because they are strong enough. But the most powerful one is not the 4 emperors pirate group, but Marine, who is controlled by the world government. One Marine is at least worth 2 4 emperors pirate groups. Such a huge force can only obey the orders of the world government. What a waste. Thinking of this, a frightening light flashed in Bai Yi's eyes, and if he wanted to do it, he would do whatever he wanted. Find a way to control the entire Marine in your own hands. Next day, early morning. Vaughn called all the Marines to the playground. In front of everyone, it was announced that Bai Yi was promoted to Marine Ensign. At the same time, the system voice also sounded in Bai Yi's mind. Congratulations to host for becoming Seaman Recruit and gaining 0.5 points of world source power. Congratulations to host for becoming Seaman Apprentice and gaining 1 point of world source power. Congratulations to host for becoming Seaman First Class and gaining 1.5 points of world source power. Congratulations to host for becoming a Corporal and gaining 2 points of world source power. Congratulations to host for becoming a sergeant and gaining 3 points of world source power. Congratulations to host for becoming a sergeant and gaining 5 points of world source power. Congratulations to host for becoming ensign and gaining 10 points of world source power. After jumping 7 levels in a row, I gained a total of 23 points of world source power. Just because Bai Yi's status in Marine has been improved, the speed of obtaining world source power is more direct than killing people. But Bai Yi's status can be improved. It was also because he killed the Blood Wolf with a bounty of 15 million Baileys. This can be considered a double gain. This sudden wave of instant wealth made Bai Yi firm up his thoughts yesterday. Chapter 10 Departure to Rog Town. Advertise here. After the meeting, Vaughn pulled Bai Yi aside. Last night, I reported everything that happened here. It is said that the Lieutenant General of the Ghost Spider headquarters is very interested in you and is willing to recommend you to the elite training camp of the Marine headquarters. So let me ask your opinion. The Lieutenant General of the Ghost Spider headquarters is a top-notch figure among the Lieutenant Generals. He is considered a hawk of the Akainu series, with ruthless methods. Bai Yi directly eliminated hundreds of traitorous soldiers, which was very popular with the hawk generals. So Bai Yi was not surprised by this. Elite training camp. Seeing Bai Yi's hesitation, Vaughn quickly explained, don't underestimate this elite training camp. Many senior Marine generals came from there. The current 3 Marine generals are the most obvious example. And the instructor there is former General Black Arm, Zephyr. With your talent and Zephyr's teachings, maybe you will be the next Marine general. Although Vaughn praised the elite training camp to the fullest. But for Bai Yi, it's really not very attractive. As far as Bai Yi's strength is concerned, his improvement of strength mainly relies on the integration of the system. As long as he obtains a large amount of world source power, his strength can be improved rapidly. Instead of going to the Marine elite training camp to play children's house games, it's better to kill pirates and find ways to improve your rank. Colonel Vaughn, to be honest, I'm not very interested in the Marine elite training camp. Vaughn continued to persuade, those who come out of the elite training camp are all talents cultivated by Marine. As long as you graduate, the lowest position is at the level of captain. If you perform well, it is not impossible to become a colonel or major general directly. It would be a shame to miss such a good opportunity. After hearing this, Bai Yoruichi was stunned. Before Vaughn could continue, he said immediately. You are right, then I will pack my things now. After saying that, he turned around and went back to the room to pack his luggage. Vaughn was left confused. What did I say right? The key to making Bai Yi change his mind is the change of identity. Although it is said that as long as the strength is strong enough, there is no fear of not being reused. But according to normal procedures, Bai Yi wants to become a Marine Fleet Admiral step by step from a lieutenant. It takes a long time. But it would be different if Byakuya came out of the elite training camp at Marine headquarters. This is equivalent to a layer of gold plating. He became a person with upright roots and a bright future. And in the elite training camp, many future Marine elite generals can be conquered in advance. This is also very important to accomplish the ultimate goal. It can be said that Ghost Spider's invitation really means someone will give you a pillow if you feel sleepy. If you enter the new world early, you can also meet the powerful people standing on the top of the sea. When the time comes, it will all be up to you. On the endless sea, a small boat floated alone. Bai Yi sat at the bow of the boat and sighed with some annoyance. When I left, why didn't I take someone with me who knew navigation skills? Because candidates participating in the elite training camp need to gather in Rog Town first. So Bai Yi embarked on a voyage for this purpose. It had been 2 days since he left Sichi Island, and Bai Yi felt like he was just treading water. The navigation chart in my hand is like a piece of waste paper. Fortunately, this is only the 4 seas. If it were the Grand Route, even Bai Yi can't guarantee that with his current strength, he can survive the horrific natural disaster. Open black lens bracket host. Bai Yi close black lens bracket. Template. One Punch Man, Saitama. Fusion degree, 2%. World source power, 18. Fusion degree 2% 3%, requires world source power, 20. Opening the exchange store requires world source power, 100. Looking at the existing property board boldly, Bai Yi felt that there was still a long way to go in the future. There are still 2 points of world source power left. It would be great if we could get some pirates. Bai Yi thought silently. Maybe God heard Bai Yi's wish. Not far away, a medium-sized ship with a skull and crossbones flag was sailing towards Bai Yi's place. A pirate observed Bai Yi's boat and quickly reported the news loudly. Beautiful Captain Arita, we found a small boat ahead, do you want to get rid of it? Really? A fat body appeared at the bow of the ship and said fiercely. We happen to be short of handymen on the ship, so rush up and tie that guy up. Because she was so excited, the fat on Arita's ugly face was trembling. The boat in front of the target moved forward at full speed. But at this time, Bai Yi had everything left to chance. Either wait for the right person, or drift slowly with the waves. Anyway, there is still more than half a month before the meeting time. Lying on the boat, crossing his legs, looking up at the sky. A look of leisurely contentment. But at this moment, the sound of ships breaking through the waves reached Bai Yi's ears. Bai Yi's eyes lit up and he quickly followed the sound. The pirate flag has a red heart on the skull and a swan on the bow. Why does it look so familiar? Then an idea flashed in Bai Yi's mind. This was a character who appeared in the anime. Alita Pirates. The Alita Pirates were the first pirate group that Luffy met when he went to sea. Captain Arita is an ugly fat woman. A bit like a smaller version of Auntie. Luffy and Kirby also met through the Alita Pirates. At this point in time, it should be more than a year before Luffy goes to sea. So Byakuya was able to meet the Arita Pirates. This is Bai's first encounter with a character in anime. He can finally experience the benefits that changing plot points will bring. Bai Yi moved and disappeared from the ship. When Bai Yi appeared again, he was already on Arita's ship. He looked at the kid in front of him, with his mushroom head covered with cherry blossom powder, holding a broom in both hands, and looking like a doormat. If I guess correctly, this should be Kebi, right? Kebi suddenly heard someone talking behind him and turned around, only to find that it was someone he didn't recognize at all. Suddenly he was so frightened that he backed away, fell to the ground, held his head in his hands, and cried, "Who are you? Can you please don't hurt me, I'm just a poor handyman." Bai Yi chuckled and said, "He is really just like in the anime, he is a coward." Who is a coward? Kebi buried his head in his arms and argued unconvinced. It was just the constant trembling of his body that gave him away completely. You don't have to be afraid, my name is Bai Yi, and my name is Marine. Marine. As soon as he heard Marine, Kirby stood up excitedly. Are you really Marine? If not, Kebi pulled Bai Yi and said excitedly, Master Marine, I will report. Kirby told everything he saw and heard on the ship. Don't worry, I will deal with these pirates. Let's talk about your problem now, after I deal with these pirates. Are you ready to go home? Or, Kirby responded immediately without any hesitation, I'm going to follow you as a Marine. You sure? Of course, becoming a Marine is my lifelong dream. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully changing the plots of Kebi meets Luffy by chance, Garp takes on Kebi as his disciple, etc., and obtains 50 points of World Source Power, Chapter 11 Great Harvest. Advertise here. Under Arita's order, he continued to approach the boat that Byakuya was on before. But when I got closer, I saw that there was no one on the ship at all. Beautiful Captain Arita, there is no one on this ship. The pirate reported quickly. Arita was stunned and asked, how could this happen? Did he abandon ship immediately after seeing us? Just when everyone was confused, a somewhat ridiculing voice suddenly came from the cabin. Are you looking for me? Bai Yi opened the door and walked out, followed by the submissive Kebi. When Bai Yi saw Arita, his expression changed suddenly, the corners of his eyes kept twitching, and he suppressed the thought of nausea. I didn't expect the real person to be more exaggerated than the anime showed. There was no way, Arita couldn't bear it without eating the slippery fruit. Arita looked at the sudden appearance of Bai Yi and couldn't help but become vigilant. Who are you? Weren't you just looking for me? Bai Yi put his hand into his arms, as if looking for something. This move immediately frightened the pirates like Arita. He thought Bai Yi was looking for a weapon, so he immediately pointed all the knives in his hand at Bai Yi. Even Arita's plump palms were tightly gripping the thigh-thick mace. She felt a very strong sense of danger from Bai Yi. It was as if invisible hands were grabbing her neck, suffocating her. After Bai Yi saw everyone's reaction, he raised his head and smiled, his handsome face as warm as the big boy next door. I just brought a piece of cloth, don't be nervous. Bai Yi took out a light blue cloth strip from his arms and covered his eyes. Almost everyone was puzzled by Bai Yi's actions. They had never seen such an operation before covering their eyes before fighting. Brother Bai, what do you mean? Kebi was also confused at this time. It's okay, I'm just afraid that if I do something later, I'll puke just looking at that ugly fat face. Bai Yi said calmly, then found a pair of white gloves from the system space and put them on. The length of the glove covers 2/3 of the forearm, similar to Saitama's glove. Although it's great to blow up an enemy with one punch, the feeling of blood sticking to your hands is a bit hard to accept. So Bai Yi learned wisely this time, and before leaving, he spent 2 million belly to specially order 10 pairs of white gloves. Made of Poseidon leather, it has sufficient toughness and ductility. It can also prevent blood from penetrating and contacting the skin. Perfectly meets Bai Yi's current needs. Boy, who do you think is ugly? Arita's ugly face became even more ferocious, making it even more unacceptable. Boys, come on, I'll tear this guy's head off. Arita gave an order, and nearly 100 of her subordinates swarmed forward. Seeing this, Kebi closed his eyes subconsciously, for fear of seeing a scene of flesh and blood flying everywhere. But there was the undeniable voice of Bai Yi. Open your eyes. If you want to be a qualified Marine soldier and you can't even accept such a scene, you might as well go back to being an ordinary person. Kebi opened the door tremblingly, only to see a scene he would never forget in his life. Faced with the impact of many pirates, Byakuya advances instead of retreating. The long knife flashing with cold light struck him head on. Bai Yi sidestepped and punched him through the chest with a backhand punch. Blood splattered everywhere, and even a few drops fell on Kebi's face. With one punch, the fierce punch shot out in a straight line, directly piercing through more than a dozen pirates. Flesh and blood flew everywhere, and corpses were everywhere. Kirby murmured, "Are all Marines so powerful?" Bai Yi's brutal attack instantly suppressed the remaining pirates. Even Erida herself was stunned on the spot, almost unable to hold the mace in her hand. Fear swept through everyone's heart like a stormy wave. This disparity in strength is enough to make anyone despair. Every time Byakuya took a step forward, the other pirates took 2 steps back. Seeing this, Bai Yi smiled and said, "Since you don't take the initiative to attack, then I will attack." This seemingly sunny smile revealed a different kind of cruelty. It made everyone shudder. Before he finished speaking, several screams rang out one after another. Those pirates disappeared without a trace as if they had evaporated. The fat all over Erida's body was trembling, and her legs seemed to be filled with lead, unable to move an inch. From going to sea to now, she has dozens of lives in her hands. But this scene, which was like purgatory on Earth, made her terrified. In a moment, there were only 3 living people left on the entire ship. Byakuya, Kebi, Erida. Byakuya specially left Erida for last. Of course, this is not because Bai Yi has any special quirks. After all, as far as the original plot is concerned, Erida and Kirby are both named people in the anime. So Bai Yi wanted to do an experiment. That is to leave one to kill and see which method can obtain more world source power. Unfortunately, Erida was the one chosen to be killed. To blame, I can only blame her for not eating the slippery fruit yet. Erida waved the mace in her hand desperately, only in this way could she bring a sense of security. The huge mace was carried by the strong wind and hit Bai Yi hard. Bang! Bai Yi didn't hesitate at all. He punched the mace in half and sent Erida to rebuild it with another punch. I hope she will look normal in her next life. The system beep sounded again. Acquire 0.01 points of world source power. Acquire 0.02 points of world source power. Acquire 0.01 points of world source power. Open black lens bracket. Close black lens bracket. Get 1 point of world source power. Ding. Congratulations to host for killing Erida and successfully changing the plot of Erida and Luffy fight. Alita joins forces with the buggy pirates etc., obtains world source power, 30 points. 30 points, which is much smaller than Kibi's 50 points. However, in the anime, Alita's role is much smaller than that of Kibi. So it's understandable. Bai Yi took off the light blue cloth strips and threw them on the boat together with the white gloves that were already stained with blood on his hands. Encountering the Alita pirates, Bai Yi directly gained 82 points of world source power. It can be considered a bumper harvest. Open black lens bracket host. Bai close black lens bracket. Template. One Punch Man, Saitama. Fusion degree, 2%. World source power, 100. Fusion degree 2% 3%, requires world source power, 20. Opening the exchange store requires world source power, 100. Forehead. Looking at the system panel, Bai Yi was in trouble again. Exactly 100 points of world source power. Enough to open an exchange store. But it can also improve several points of integration. Bai Yi hesitated again and again, but still chose to increase the degree of fusion. After all, every time the degree of fusion increases, it will bring about earth-shaking changes to Bai Yi's strength. And in Bai Yi's original idea, there was one thing that he had to try. If it is completed successfully, then the world source power gained by Bai Yi will be absolutely huge. But if things don't go well, Bai Yi will also need enough strength to help him escape. Chapter 12 First I'm Captain Marine. Advertise here. Looking at the existing world source power, Bai Yoruichi gritted his teeth and reluctantly spent 60 points of world source power. Fusion degree 2% 3%, requires world source power, 20. Fusion degree 3% 4%, world source power required, 40. The existing system panel is as follows. Open black lens bracket host. Bai close black lens bracket. Template. One Punch Man, Saitama. Fusion degree, 4%. World source power, 40. Fusion degree 4% 5%, world source power required, 80. Opening the exchange store requires world source power, 100. Bai Yi clenched his fists, feeling the powerful power filling his body. This feeling is enough to make people immersed in it and unable to extricate themselves. Loot the Alita pirates' wealth and bring some dry food and fresh water. Bai Yi took Kebi back to his original boat. After all, Erida's ship had become tattered during the battle. The situation on the deck is also terrible. If 2 people were to clean it up, they would probably be exhausted to death. When he returned to the boat, Bai Yi realized that he seemed to have started too quickly. There was no navigator left to guide the way. Glancing at Kebi beside him, Bai Yi asked with some annoyance, "Kebi, can you read navigation charts?" After Kebi took the navigation chart, he frowned and said seriously, "I have learned a little bit about this before. There should still be no problem with the nautical charts of the East China Sea." Quote. Bai Yi breathed a long sigh of relief and said, "That's good. Now look how far we are from Rog Town. It's estimated that there are still 10 days to go." 10 days. When I left, I heard them saying that it only takes 8 days from Ski Island to Rog Town. After hearing this, Kebi began to carefully search for the location of Ski Island on the map. Then he said, if I read it correctly, the direction you set off should be in the opposite direction. Gone. Then where is the nearest island to us now? It's the island of windmills and oranges. Bai Yi's eyes flashed, as if he saw the source of the world and the lovely Nami waving to him. No, Nami seems to be underage now. This is too evil. I must give up such evil thoughts. Well, then let's go to the island of windmills and oranges. ... With the existence of Kirby, a half-navigator, Bai Yi's subsequent voyage went much smoother. In less than half a day, we successfully arrived at Kokoja village. Bai Yi jumped off the boat and said to Kebi, just stay on the boat and don't run around. Step on the soft sand and feel the warm sunshine. I have to say that the environment of the pirate world is still very good. After walking along the forest path for a while, Bai Yi saw Kokoja village. And in the village, there are several fish-man buildings with extremely obvious styles. Bai Yi narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, the source of my world, come and wait for daddy's favor. Just as Bai Yi was about to rush directly to the fishman base, a clear and sweet voice suddenly came from not far behind. Hey, who are you, and what are you doing in our village? This voice sounds familiar. Bai Yi looked back, and the first thing that caught her eye was a head of orange hair and a fair and lovely face. Those smart eyes stared blankly at Bai Yi without any fear. There is also a tattoo on his exposed left shoulder. If Bai Yi saw it correctly, the person who suddenly appeared in front of him. It should be Nami, the navigator of the Straw Hat Pirates. What a coincidence. Byakuya is sizing up Nami, and Nami is also sizing up Byakuya. Nami had just buried the stolen money and saw Bai Yi when he came out of the forest. When he saw that Bai Yi actually wanted to enter Kokoja village, he quickly stopped him. After all, the village is dominated by fishmen. If a fishman saw a strange face appear, he would probably kill this guy immediately. Nami then advised, you'd better leave this island as soon as possible. It's very dangerous in the village. Bai Yi knew that Nami was kind-hearted and was doing it for her own good, so she persuaded herself to leave. But the danger in Nami's eyes was nothing to him. Bai Yi smiled and said, don't worry, I know what I'm doing. After Nami saw Bai Yi's handsome face and warm smile, her face turned slightly red and her voice lowered involuntarily. But it's really dangerous in the village. Bai Yi looked at the shy Nami and thought to herself, in fact, I am more dangerous than them. By the way, who are you and how did you come to our village? Bai Yi said nonchalantly, I'm Marine. I heard that there are pirates doing evil here, so I came here. When Nami heard that Byakuya's identity was Marine, her face turned ugly. It is precisely because of Marine's inaction that the evil dragon has dominated Kokoja Island for many years. Nami's feelings towards Marine are not very good. However, when Nami heard that Byakuya was here to deal with the dragon pirates, he was stunned for a moment, the chill dissipated, and there was a look of disbelief in his beautiful eyes. You just said, lead the way, wasting one more second will be torture for you and the villagers. Are you alone? It will be very dangerous if you go alone. I'm very strong. Just feel free to take me there. Nami didn't know why, so she took Bai Yi to the fishman's house in a daze. Maybe it was Bai Yi's gentle smile and the confidence revealed in his words that made Nami subconsciously believe what he said. Half an hour later, the two stood at the door of the dragon pirate's lair. Only then did Nami realize what he had done. She didn't want Bai Yi to die in vain. Even if Byakuya was the Marine she hated. But from Bai Yi's extremely confident words, Nami felt the long-lost hope. For Nami, as long as there is a chance to get rid of the dragon pirates, she will not hesitate at all, even at the cost of her life. Nami hesitated and asked, since you dare to get rid of the dragon pirates alone, you must be very strong, right? Your position in Marine must also be very high, right? In Marine, the stronger the strength, the higher the position. This is common sense on the sea. Bai Yi did not answer directly, as this where the dragon pirates stay. Nami nodded subconsciously. That's enough. After Bai Yi put on his gloves, he held the wall with one hand and exerted force suddenly. Spider webs of cracks covered hundreds of meters of walls. In Nami's horrified eyes, the wall collapsed, and the sound of the wall collapsing spread throughout Kokoja village. Countless villagers came out to see what had happened. Especially when I found out that the sound came from the direction of the dragon pirates, I felt even more worried. He was afraid that the dragon pirates would attack the people in the village again. Bai Yi stepped over the ruined wall and said calmly, my name is Bai Yi, and my current official position is Captain Marine. Nami looked at Bai Yi who had disappeared from sight, her delicate face full of doubts. When did Marine Ensign become so powerful? Chapter 13 Guess. Advertise here. Aaron was leaning on the recliner, with his hands folded behind his head, lazily basking in the sun, thinking about how long it would take to return to the Great Root. At that time, we must prove to the whole world that humans are inferior creatures in front of fishmen. Ju and Kruby were lying on the sofa, basking in the sun, looking relaxed and comfortable. The whole fishman's house. Boom. A sound broke the quiet and peaceful atmosphere. Ju and Kruby stood up in fright. Aaron also sat up, frowning, looking at the place where the wall collapsed with murderous intent. The air seemed to freeze at this moment. Ta. Clear footsteps came from the smoke and reached everyone's ears, and an invisible sense of oppression filled the entire space. The visitor is not good. As soon as Aaron waved, the fishmen who were resting all picked up their weapons and ambushed aside. After a while, a black figure emerged from the smoke. As the leaders of the dragon pirates, Ju and Kruby looked at each other without any hesitation. They rushed into the smoke left and right, hoping to strike first. Crack! A crisp sound of bone cracking came from the smoke, and a relaxed look appeared on the faces of the surrounding fishmen. In their opinion, if the two cadres attack together, they will definitely be able to kill the attacker. Aaron's frown gradually calmed down, but there was still a trace of doubt in his heart. Next moment, the sound of footsteps sounded again, but Aaron was extremely vigilant. Because the footsteps this time still belonged to only one person. When the smoke dissipated, Bai Yi appeared in front of everyone safe and sound, with the bodies of Chu and Kruby lying at his feet. The heads and necks of the two fishmen are almost at an angle of 90 degrees. It was obvious that the spine was directly and forcibly broken. After Aaron noticed this, he felt even more creepy. Because this shows that the enemy in front of him killed Kruby and Ju at the same time. Only in this way can the sound of bone cracking be explained. The enemy is extremely powerful. You lowly, damn human being. How dare you kill the great fish man? A lowly human being. A waste like you who escaped from the Grand Route can only bully ordinary people without any strength in the weakest East China Sea. When you were captured by General Kizaru, why didn't you say he was a lowly human being? If Jinbei hadn't chosen to become the 7 warlords of the sea, scum like you, no, fish scum, should be waiting to die in the underwater prison. When Aaron heard this, his muscles all over his body tensed up, and he unconsciously held the cutting edge in his hand tighter. He didn't expect that the mysterious man in front of him actually knew his origin. And also mentioned the shame of his life, Kizaru. That extremely powerful man severely injured himself with a casual blow and had to be captured by humans. This was the deepest shame in his heart. Aaron said nervously, "Who are you? Are you also from the Grand Line?" Bai Yi smiled and said, "What do you think?" Aaron stopped talking nonsense to Bai Yi and immediately ordered all the fishmen to take action. Seeing this situation, Bai Yi secretly wondered if he would also train a group of subordinates. Otherwise, I would have to do it myself every time, and it would be quite tiring if I didn't have the skills to do it. While thinking about it, Bai Yi escaped from the siege of many murlocs like he was strolling in the courtyard. After images flashed past, and the distance between Bai Yi and Aaron was getting closer and closer. In Aaron's horrified eyes, appeared in front of him. No matter who you are, I want you to be buried with Ju and Kruby today, and die for me. Aaron scolded angrily, emboldening himself, and drew out his cutting edge from behind to take the lead. Noisy. Bai Yoruichi punched out, with a harsh sound of breaking through the air, directly punching the slashing edge in midair into a V shape. Aaron's hands were torn apart by the huge force, his arms were stained with blood, and he flew backwards and hit the wall. Aaron looked at the completely scrapped Zanfeng and said tremblingly, "How is this possible?" This was a weapon he made using the best metals and forging masters from Fishman Island, but it was actually destroyed by one punch. Bai Yi said unexpectedly, "Hey, I didn't expect that I didn't kill you with one punch." Although this was just a random punch from him, Aaron was able to withstand it without dying, which was indeed beyond his expectation. Aaron leaned his back against the wall and reluctantly stood up. His hands were twitching due to severe pain and he could no longer exert any strength. "Who are you? You definitely come from the Grand Line, right? There can't be such a strong person in the East China Sea." Bai Yi smiled and said, "You guess. You." Aaron was seriously injured by Shiro Yoruichi's punch, and then was angered by Shiro Yi. He was so angry that he vomited blood and almost died on the spot. Nami, who was peeking not far away, saw that the extremely powerful Aaron was like a child who had not yet grown up in front of Bai Yi, with no power to fight back at all. His heart was full of excitement, and Kokoja village finally ushered in the light. Seeing Bai Yi's behavior that almost angered Aaron to death, his big eyes turned into crescent moons, and he almost laughed out loud. Hearing the noise from the fisherman's house, Police Kensuke of Kokoja village rushed over to check the situation. When Kensuke arrived, he saw Nami lying in the corner like a little kitten, peeking at something, so he asked in a low voice. "Nami, what happened here? Are these fishmen going crazy again? These damn fishmen will destroy Kokoja village sooner or later." Nami looked back at Kensuke, who was looking sad, and shared the joy in his heart, saying happily, "Uncle Kensuke, Kokoja village can be saved. We no longer have to be oppressed by the dragon pirates." "What?" Kensuke looked shocked and asked in disbelief, "Did you already collect 100 million belly to redeem Kokoja village from the hands of the dragon pirates?" "Of course not, I still lack a lot of pele." Having said this, Nami reacted and said with some confusion. Uncle Kensuke, how did you know that I need to raise 100 million belly?" Kensuke said awkwardly, "Ahem, actually everyone knows about this. I just don't want you to have too much pressure, so I didn't tell you. You guys, forget it. Anyway, starting from today, the history of Kokoja village will be rewritten." With that said, Nami let Kensuke see what happened in the fishman house. This sight shocked Kensuke, his eyes widened, his mouth opened wide, and he stammered, that young man, beat Aaron, died. Nami looked at Kensuke's surprised look and couldn't help but chuckled. Isn't he awesome? Did you bring him here? Do you know him? Nami said happily. Yes, I picked him up at the beach. He said he was a Marine lieutenant and was here to deal with Eren. Found it at the beach. Lieutenant Marine, can you still kill Eren? Kensuke looks dull. Is this okay? Chapter 14 Colonel Mouse. Advertise here. Until his death, Eren only had the 3 words, guess it, floating around in his mind. But still don't know who the enemy in front of you is. After taking care of Eren, the surrounding fishmen looked at Bai Yi as if they were seeing demons. Not to mention avenging Eren, everyone wanted to use all 3 legs at once, for fear that Bai Yi would attack them next. Escape. Run away. Boss Eren and the others are all dead. So one by one, the fishmen were like crazy, one after another getting into the pool that connected to the sea. In the sea, I swam with all my strength, trying to get away from that terrifying man. As for the idea of revenge, I haven't even thought about it. Seeing the fish man fleeing hastily, Bai Yi was not in a hurry to take action. He thought, I don't seem to have seen Octopus Hachi. He must have taken the manatee to eat, right? What a lucky boy. Forget it if you don't meet Xiaoba, but you won't be lenient if you meet Bai Yi. Although Xiaoba did not do many evil things compared to other fishmen, he was not without the blood of innocent villagers on his hands. Moreover, he also enjoyed the resources that the dragon pirates plundered from the villagers. Even if he was killed, he would not be able to complain. Nami walked in slowly and saw the bodies of Chu and Kruby lying at their feet, as well as the lifeless Eren not far away. The smell of blood in the air kept irritating Nami's nerves. A kind of throbbing that had never happened before came to my heart. Is it finally over? Has the 10 years of pressure that has plagued Kokoja village and weighed on me all disappeared today? Nami murmured with her beautiful eyes distracted. Bai Yi smiled and said, it's not over yet. What do you mean? Nami looked confused. Bai Yi raised his right leg, twisted his waist, suddenly exerted force, and dropped his right foot suddenly. In an instant, an unparalleled power reached the ground. Under Bai Yi's precise control, the power only covered this part of the fishman's lair. The entire ground began to tremble violently, and the houses on the surface collapsed. The tower that had imprisoned Nami for 10 years also disappeared. Nami looked at the ruins of the fishman's house, and a trace of relief flashed on his face. There was a smile on the corner of the mouth, and 2 lines of tears fell from the corners of the eyes. At this moment, she truly got rid of all restraints. At the same time, the water on the sea turned scarlet, with countless flesh and blood floating on it. The scene was extremely bloody and horrific. Obviously these are the fishmen who escaped into the sea before. But due to the shaking force of Bai Yi's kick, they were all shaken to pieces in the sea. Bai Yoruichi took off his gloves with a nonchalant expression and threw them on Eren's dead body. Bai Yi reached out to brush away the tears on Nami's cheeks. This is the real end. Nami raised her charming little face, smiled charmingly, and looked directly at the man in front of her with her smart eyes. That already extremely handsome face, at this moment, added a layer of stunning light. At this time, Bai Yi heard the system prompts that kept echoing in his mind, and a satisfied smile appeared on his face. Seeing the smile on Bai Yi's face, Nami's cheeks heated up and she murmured, Can I follow you? Don't get me wrong, I just want to chart the entire world. This is my lifelong dream. After saying these words, Nami buried her head in her chest, her 2 small white ears like red crystals. But half the call passed, and Nami still didn't wait for a response. Looking up, Bai Yi seemed to have not heard what she said, and the expression on his face did not change, still smiling. The shyness on his face suddenly disappeared, and he began to feel sulky. Of course, at this time, Bai Yi had no intention of caring about the things around him. Instead, focus on immersing yourself in the system's wonderful notification sounds. Acquire 1.5 points of World Source Power. Acquire 1.8 points of World Source Power. Acquire 0.08 points of World Source Power. Acquire 0.05 points of World Source Power. Open black lens bracket. Close black lens bracket. Get 5 points of World Source Power. Isn't this so cool? The strength of fishmen is generally much stronger than that of ordinary pirates. Therefore, the harvest of World Source Power is also extremely rich. Just killing the dragon pirates brought 12 points of profit. The settlement of the event to be discussed will be another huge profit. This trip to Kokosia village was really full of fun. When Bai Yi came back from the joy of harvesting a lot, he saw Nami's bulging face like a steamed bun. What's wrong? Did something happen again? Nami said 2 words from between clenched teeth, it's okay. The 2 little tiger teeth grinded loudly. Thinking of what happened just now, Nami felt flushed. Bai Yi looked at Nami with a strange look, but didn't think much about it. But I started to think about it, and I always felt that something was missing this time. Just like what should have happened, didn't happen. It seems like things are incomplete. When Nami saw Bai Yi frowning again, she knew that Bai Yi didn't hear what she said at all. His angry little feet kept kicking on the ground. What exactly is missing? Why hasn't the settlement been settled yet? At this time, a crisp whistle sounded from outside. Shiro Yoruichi knew immediately that this was Marine's whistle. Da da da. There were dense footsteps coming from the outside. Listening to this voice, there is a team of nearly 100 people. Bai Yi's eyes lit up as he looked at a wretched figure walking in from the door. That's right, it turns out you're the one who's wrong. Yes, in the anime, the colonel of the 16th Marine Branch was destroyed together with the Dragon Pirates. Colonel Mouse. If it weren't for Colonel Mouse colluding with the Dragon Pirates. With the crimes of the Dragon Pirates, once they are reported to the higher level Marine, they will definitely attract the attention of the higher ups. It would not have resulted in the current situation. The Dragon Pirates have been allowed to dominate here for more than 10 years, and Kokoja village has endured pain and torture for more than 10 years. As soon as Colonel Mouse and his people came in, they were shocked by the tragic situation inside. Whether it was Chu or Kruby who fell at their feet, lifeless. It was still broken into two parts not far away, Aaron with a panicked face. Or maybe it was the scarlet flesh and blood floating on the 10-meter-long pool. Everything confirmed a terrifying thing. The Dragon Pirates were wiped out by a group of people, and the one who did it must be a man standing there with a calm face. His strength must be very terrifying. However, Colonel Mouse also had his own plan. He waved his hand and ordered. F*K them all. Surround them both. Upon seeing this, Nami quickly defended herself loudly, we are not pirates. We are not pirates. All the pirates have been killed by Byakuya, he is also a marine. Chapter 15 Artificial Fountain. Although Nami hated marines in action, after seeing Byakuya, Nami's concept of marine has changed slightly. Colonel Mouse couldn't help but feel wary when he heard that Bai Yi's identity was also marine. He didn't come here to avenge Aaron. The money Aaron made from exploiting the civilians under his command over the years. In addition to giving a portion to Colonel Mouse as hush money for not reporting it. Keep everything else. Colonel Mouse saw something happen to the Dragon Pirates this time. He came here with the intention of stealing all the property of the Dragon Pirates. Are you a marine too? Colonel Mouse asked suspiciously. Bai Yi indifferently took out his ID and threw it to Colonel Mouse. Colonel Mouse saw that Bai Yi was so calm and was able to eliminate the Dragon Pirates alone. He must be a colonel or major general in the headquarters. Colonel Mouse took the certificate without even looking at it. He immediately put on a flattering smile and quickly evacuated the surrounding soldiers. This is all a misunderstanding. I thought it was a vendetta between pirates. If the man in front of me is really a brigadier general or major general of the headquarters. As for Colonel Mouse and Aaron, once they are discovered, there is only one way to die. How can Colonel Mouse not be afraid? Nami was also confused by Colonel Mouse's chameleon-like behavior. To be fair, isn't it true that a colonel is older than a lieutenant? Why did the Mouse Colonel see Bai Yi like a mouse seeing a cat? So scared, Bai Yi walked slowly to Colonel Mouse, grabbed Colonel Mouse by his collar with one hand, and picked him up directly. Colonel Mouse was like a dehydrated tortoise, his arms and legs kept swinging, trying to break free. Hey, what are you doing? Put down our commander. Put it down, sir. Otherwise we'll shoot. Quickly let go. When the surrounding Marine soldiers saw their senior officer being picked up, they all panicked. Sir, what are you doing? Colonel Mouse continued to defend. I didn't do anything illegal, I'm Colonel Marine. Bai Yi narrowed his eyes and said coldly, you also know that you are Colonel Marine. Aaron told everything about you before he died. This meaningful sentence directly scared Colonel Mouse into a cold sweat. For a moment, even the struggle was forgotten. Colonel Mouse knew that he was definitely dead. But before dying, he still had to put up one last wave of resistance. He is not a Marine at all. He is a big pirate. Shoot them all. Kill him. Colonel Mouse screamed with all his strength. Bang bang bang. Nearly 100 guns emitted dazzling flames at the same time, and bullets struck the white knight like a torrent. You all asked for this. An astonishing killing intent erupted from Bai Yi's body, and he threw Colonel Mouse directly into the torrent of bullets with his backhand. Colonel Mouse couldn't hold on for even 3 seconds, and was instantly shot into pieces by bullets. The death is horrible. Byakuya appeared next to Nami and hugged Nami's slender waist. Ah! Nami exclaimed. The two of them jumped into the air directly. The Marine adjutant quickly ordered the soldiers to continue shooting Bai Yi and Nami in the sky. Nearly 100 Marine soldiers had just turned their guns to the sky, preparing for the second salvo. Too slow. Bai Yi said calmly. At this moment, Bai Yi's expression became extremely serious, and his carved face revealed indescribable perseverance. Huge power traveled through the body, and was finally concentrated on the right fist. That powerful violent force was like a storm, swirling around Bai Yi and soaring into the sky. With a punch thrown out, it seemed as if even the heaven and earth were suppressed within it. A fist print covering several miles was instantly printed on the ground. The entire Kokoja village was shaken, as if it would cease to exist in the next moment. The area where Marine and others were standing collapsed instantly, sinking dozens of meters deep. Countless seawater emerged from the ground, filling this collapsed area. Nami's eyes widened and her mouth opened slightly, unable to believe what she saw. Nami was a little incoherent. With the power of a punch, the ground for several miles around was sunk, and the seawater that shot out filled the depression. Nami never dared to think about this kind of thing before. But now, it happened before her eyes. Then Byakuya and Nami appeared on land a few miles away. When his feet touched the thick ground again, Nami finally recovered from what had just happened. Bai Yi found it quite interesting to see Nami's cute and absent-minded look. Okay, this time the matter is solved perfectly, Bai Yi said with a smile. Nami heard a hint of separation from Bai Yi's words. Her little hand that had not yet let go grasped the corner of Bai Yi's clothes and asked in a panic, "Are you leaving?" "Of course, I'm a marine. I can't stay in one place all the time, right?" "All right." Nami's face was full of reluctance, and the look in her eyes dimmed a bit. "I don't know why. This stranger, whom I've known for less than a day. But it left an indelible impression in my mind. I want to be by his side, but I don't know why to keep him." The two of them walked to the coast in silence. Kebi, who had been waiting on the boat for a long time, shouted excitedly after seeing Bai Yi. "Brother Bai, you are finally back. Who is this?" Nami asked playfully, tilting her head. Before Bai Yi could reply, Kebi said extremely excitedly. "My name is Kirby, and I want to become a marine as powerful as Brother Byakuya." Marine. Nami's big and smart eyes blinked, wondering what he was thinking. After Bai Yi said goodbye to Nami, he gradually disappeared from Nami's sight. Nami looked at the sea, clenched his fists and said firmly, "We will see each other again one day. Must. .. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully changing the plot of Luffy Group slays the Dragon Pirates, purges the Marine Scum Rat Colonel, etc., and obtains World Source Power. 80 points. Ding. Host's participation in the plot of Kokoja Village has had a significant impact on the main character, Nami, and will receive an additional reward of 100 points of World Source Power. 180 points of World Source Power. Plus the 12 points of World Source Power gained from eliminating the Dragon Pirates. As well as the 3 points of World Source Power brought by Colonel Mouse and others. This time, Kokoja Village directly brought 195 points of World Source Power. World Source Power. 235 points. Bai Yi didn't hesitate and directly chose to open the exchange store. Do you want to spend 100 points of World Source Power to open the exchange store? Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Yes, close black lens bracket. Successfully opened the redemption store. World Source Power. 135 points. Exchange shop. Level 1, Chapter 16 Exchange store. Advertise here. Bai Yi carefully looked at the items in the exchange shop. The word thing may not be quite accurate. It should be said that it is a character. The Level 1 redemption store opens the function of redeeming characters. Level 1 redemption store, the corresponding redemption character world is One Punch Man. Upgrade the exchange store to unlock more characters and items in the world. Because the host's identity is marine and belongs to the side of justice, he can exchange for a Hero Association character and the world source power consumption will be reduced by 20%. Bai Yi murmured, "This means that my little brothers are coming." S-level strongman exchange list. Invincible legend. Genos, requires world source power, 300 points. The Trembling Tornado requires world source power, 1200 points. Explosion requires world source power, 1500 points. Emperor Engine. King, requires world source power, 10 points. Correspondingly, there is also the exchange list of the Weird Association. For example, Black Spirit, Monster King Orochi, Elder Centipede, Hungry Wolf. These powerful villains are all on the redeemable list. There is no discount for those who redeem the Monster Association. And Bai Yi's existing world source power is not enough, so it is not included in the plan. However, after reading the redemption list, Bai Yi realized how scarce the world source power was. With his current world source power, he can only exchange it for King and Genos. As for characters below S level, Bai Yi didn't even bother to look at them. Of course, the bald man is a character that cannot be redeemed. Exchanging it would just be a waste of world energy. After careful consideration, Bai Yi still did not exchange the character immediately. Because there are many plot points that can be interfered with in the East China Sea. You can exchange characters slowly first, and you are not in a hurry. You should focus on improving your own strength first. So Bai Yi spent 80 points of world source power to increase the degree of integration. Open black lens bracket host. Bai Yi close black lens bracket. Template. One Punch Man, Saitama. Fusion degree, 5%. World source power, 45. Fusion degree 5% 6%. Cost of world source power, 160. Opening the redemption level 2 store requires spending world source power, 1000. Strength increased dramatically again. In the next few days, a legend about Captain Marine suddenly began to spread in the East China Sea. At first, this news only spread among some low-level pirates. But later on, all the famous pirates in the East China Sea knew about Marine Captain Bai Yi. In addition, passers-by who had actually seen Bai Yi take action came forward one by one and gave their own accounts, making the spread wider and wider. On a certain island, in a huge tavern, hundreds of pirates were drinking and having fun. It was so noisy and happy. Ha ha ha, Lousy slaughtered a village a few days ago and stole 8 million belly. The burly pirate sitting next to him shouted loudly, "You are nothing, you only have 8 million belly and you still have the nerve to show it." As he spoke, he took out a larger black suitcase from behind, and when he opened it, it was filled with green Baileys. The burly pirate said proudly, "Look, these are worth 15 million Baileys. Are they not better than a piece of trash like you?" All the pirates present looked at the box of Bailey with subtle changes in their eyes. After all, everyone goes to sea and becomes a pirate just for money. Now that there is so much money in front of you, it would be a lie to say that you are not tempted at all. The atmosphere in the tavern changed, and a faint killing intent filled the air. There are even pirates who have subconsciously focused on weapons. Only then did the burly man realize what a stupid thing he had done. Seeing the pirates around them looking like they were about to eat them alive, they suddenly started to sweat profusely. At this moment, cold words suddenly sounded, attracting everyone's attention. "I said, have you forgotten something?" The man who stood up at the wine table said coldly, "When you choose to join the Creek Pirates, all your harvest needs to be handed over to Captain Creek. If someone wants to take it for himself, this table will be his fate." Bang! There was a loud noise, and two crutch-like weapons with iron balls at the end smashed 2 holes into a wine table. The burly pirate thought suddenly and picked up the leather box filled with Bailey and handed it to Akin. "Captain Ah Jin, these were originally going to be handed over to Captain Creek, but now I'll leave them to you for safekeeping." The burly pirate said flatteringly. Ah Jin took the box, threw it casually to the younger brother behind him, and said calmly, "I hope you can figure out your identity. You are not the captain of a pirate group now, but one of the teams under the Creek Pirates. I don't want something like this to happen again." I know. The pirates present had seen Akin's powerful strength, and Ajin's words were full of warning at this time. "How dare you be more troublesome?" A pirate suddenly asked. Captain Akin, is there something important about Captain Creek calling us all back this time?" Akin nodded and said, "This small East China Sea can no longer accommodate our Creek pirates. We must prepare to attack the Grand Route." When all the pirates heard this, they were stunned for a moment, and then their faces showed uncontrollable ecstasy. The Grand Line is the path One Piece Roger walked. Being able to travel to the Grand Route means that they are one step closer to One Piece. It is the big treasure that all pirates dream of. Seeing that all the pirates were excited, Ah Jin nodded with satisfaction. At this critical moment, it is necessary to motivate the pirates under his command and awaken their efforts. How else would you survive in a place like the Grand Line? At this time, Ah Jin suddenly saw a pirate whose expression was seriously inconsistent with the current atmosphere. The frown on his face and the hesitant look on his face made Ah Jin frown. The burly pirate had been paying attention to Ah Jin's expression. When he saw Ah Jin frowning, he followed Ah Jin's gaze and immediately shouted, "Gerald, if you have anything to say, just say it. Don't act like a dead horse with a sad face. That's right. We are big pirates who are going to hit the Grand Route, so be happy. Countless money and beauties are waiting for us to conquer." Most of the pirates present were excited by the news that they were about to go to the Grand Line. Ajin also said with a slight dissatisfaction, "Gerard, what exactly do you want to say?" Gerald stammered, "Captain Ajin, I recently heard that someone has been inquiring about the whereabouts of our Creek pirates, and it seems they want to take action against us." Oh, Ah Jin's poker face revealed a sneer, making it even more scary. "Who is not afraid of death? And dares to prepare to deal with our Creek pirates?" All the pirates became even more furious and cursed one after another. "We are the largest pirate group in the East China Sea. Captain Creek is going to become One Piece. Who dares to mess with us? Even Marine will stay away after seeing us." Quote. Gerald trembled and spat out a few words. "It seems. Captain Marine, Bai Yi. Chapter 17 talking about White Knight is coming. Advertise here." As soon as he finished speaking, it was as if everyone was choked by invisible hands and unable to make any sound. The whole place was silent. The confidence that everyone had before had completely disappeared, leaving the arrogance of the strongest pirate group in the East China Sea. It was like a newly lit fire that was instantly extinguished by a downpour. Captain Marine, White Knight. Although he is called a lieutenant, he does things that even Colonel Marine cannot accomplish. Within half a month, this name swept across the entire East China Sea like a storm. First, the Blood Wolf with a bounty of 15 million belly died in his hands. Then came the Alita Pirates, who had a bounty of 5 million belly. The Dragon Pirates, whose bounty is 20 million belly. Even the Black Cat Pirates, who have disappeared from the East China Sea for several years and have a total bounty of 35 million belly. They were all found and killed by Marine Lieutenant Bai Yi. As for the other pirate groups, one by one, almost no one was left alive when they encountered Byakuya. As a result, in the past half-month, there have been fewer and fewer new pirates in the East China Sea, and they dare not go to sea at all. The veteran pirate group can also hide to avoid encountering Byakuya. Unexpectedly, such a terrifying guy would actually target them. The burly man plucked up his courage and forced a smile, even if it's Byakuya. So what? Our Creek pirates are the strongest pirate group in the East China Sea. If Bai Yi dares to come to us for trouble, he will definitely be seeking death. At that time, Let all Marines in the East China Sea know the strength of our Creek pirates. Quote. After saying this, the frozen atmosphere at the scene relaxed slightly, and smiles appeared on everyone's faces again. Another pirate's face was red and he said slightly drunkenly, yes, if Bai Yi dares to come, I will chop off his head and give it to Captain Creek. Everyone burst into laughter. Bump bump bump. Anyone there? The sudden knock on the door was clearly heard in everyone's ears. The pirates. Laughter suddenly stopped. You don't have to be silent, I know you are inside. Quote. Since you don't have the gate of opening, then I'll go in by myself. The next moment, the door was pushed directly to the ground, and dazzling sunlight shone in from the gap in the door. A very young-looking man walked in and said with a smile, sorry, I used a little too much strength. Akin picked up his weapon and asked with a frown, who are you? How dare you come here to make trouble? Don't you know we are members of the Creek Pirates? Who am I? Haven't you been talking about me just now? Bai Yi sneered, also, I just know that you are members of the Creek Pirates, that's why I show up here. Speaking of which, the pirates present could not understand that the young man in front of them was the person they had talked about before. Captain Marine, White Knight. The man who could scare the entire East China Sea pirates. When everyone talked about Bai Yi before, although they were scared, they were not extremely scared. After all, if the knife is not placed on the neck, you will not experience the fear of dying. But now, the knife is already on their necks. The name of a person, the shadow of a tree. Akin has no doubts about Bai Yi's strength, and now is a critical moment for the Creek pirates. This kind of meaningless battle should be avoided if possible. He didn't want to make some trouble at this time and cause trouble to Captain Creek. So, Agent asked with a rather sincere attitude, I don't know where the Creek pirates offended you, so that you did not hesitate to inquire about information and came to us specifically. Bai Yi raised his eyebrows and asked, are you not very smart? These sarcastic words immediately ignited Agent's suppressed anger. Akin said sternly, Bai Yi, don't think that just because you kill those unscrupulous pirates, you can ignore the Creek pirates. We, the Creek pirates, are the pirates who are about to enter the Grand Line. Bai Yi waved his hands and said, don't make me laugh anymore. Just based on what you just asked, you Creek pirates will have some NT. I'm Marine, you're a pirate, and you ask me why I'm looking for you. With your intelligence, no wonder you haven't survived more than a few episodes in the anime. Hearing Bai Yi's answer, Ah Jin couldn't help but be stunned. Although Bai Yi's name is Captain Marine, they have never seen Captain Marine capable of causing a bloody storm in the East China Sea. So they subconsciously ignored the word, Marine, that best reflected Bai Yi's identity. Ah Jin waved two crutches with iron balls cast on the ends, gritted his teeth and said, since you insist on seeking death, I won't stop you. Do it all. At such a close distance, all the pirates present picked up their sidearms and rushed forward. Bai Yi put on his gloves, shook his head and said, no need, really no need. Ah Jin quickly rushed to Bai Yi's side, raised the iron cane with both hands and slammed it down on Bai Yi. I want you to know what will happen if you provoke the Creek pirates. Akin said with a ferocious expression. Bai Yi looked at Akin's fierce eyes and smiled, the end result will be the destruction of the Creek pirates. With a wave of his right hand, click, click, the sound of broken bones suddenly sounded. Ah Jin screamed in pain and couldn't hold the iron crutch in his hand tightly, so it fell to the ground. My arms. Ah Jin looked at his limp arms with horror on his face. The bones were broken and he could no longer exert any strength. I'll spare your life first. I have something to ask you later. Bai Yi said calmly. As he spoke, most of the pirates had died in Bai Yi's hands. Every punch shot out will definitely end the lives of several people. It took no more than 3 seconds for the many pirates present to rush towards Bai Yi at the beginning and then use their hands and feet to escape frantically. This guy is not a human at all, he is simply a monster. Run quickly, I don't want to die here. Running separately, he can't possibly kill all of us at the same time. The pirates wished they could grow 2 more legs and stay away from that devil. Looking at the pirates' backs fleeing in all directions, Bai Yi sighed softly, oh, once we finish this job, we'll quickly exchange for a subordinate. It is really tiring to do everything by yourself. Quote. Under Bai Yi's precise control, in addition to Akin, the lives of 3 pirates were also spared. The 3 pirates knew they couldn't run away, so they all knelt down in front of Bai Yi, kowtowed and begged for mercy. Uncle Bai Yi, please let us go. We are just young members of the Creek pirates, we don't know anything. Akin is the captain of the Creek pirates. He definitely knows more than us. The 3rd pirate turned around and sold Akin out in order to survive. Chapter 18 Ghost. Stranger. Advertise here. The veins on Ayan's head popped out, and he stared at the person who spoke. If his arms hadn't been broken by Bai Yi, I'm afraid he would have cleaned up the house on the spot. This is a pirate. Bai Yi had no time to pay attention to the ugly faces of these guys. Can any of you tell me where Creek is? These pirates in front of me are just side dishes, the entire Creek pirates are what Bai Yi wants to solve. This is also one of the few plot points in Donghai that can be changed. The 3 pirates kneeling on the ground focused their attention on Ah Jin at the same time, while Ah Jin raised his neck and looked like he would not say anything. Bai Yi sighed and said, oh, you're quite arrogant, so why bother? The thumb and index finger of his right hand lightly twisted, then suddenly let go, and an invisible energy shot directly at the knee of Ah Jin's right leg. Crack. Ah. The sound of bones breaking from Ah Jin's knee was mixed with the screams. 3 of the 5 limbs have been lost. Ah Jin looked in pain, his face turned pale, his body was swaying, and his right leg was unable to exert force. He could barely stand upright so as not to fall to the ground. The 3 pirates kneeling on the ground looked at Ah Jin's tragic situation, their faces full of fear and sweat pouring out. Say or not, the pirate who had sold Ah Jin before was about to speak when Bai Yi shot out another burst of energy. Ah Jin screamed again, and his only intact left leg was destroyed by Bai Yi. Ah Jin collapsed to the ground, raised his head and looked at Bai Yi with hatred in his eyes. If looks could kill, Bai Yi would have been killed by Ling Kai thousands of times. You asked them on horseback, why are you beating me? You hit them. It's a pity that the anger of the weak is of no use. The 3 pirates were frightened by Bai Yi's cruel methods, and rushed to reveal the news about the Creek pirates to Bai Yi. Thank you so much for your message. After getting the information he wanted, Bai Yi showed a bright smile. The 3 kneeling pirates seemed to see hope of survival, and quickly begged Bai Yi to let them go. Don't worry, if you want to leave so much, I'll send you away. As soon as Bai Yi finished speaking, 3 rays of energy had already passed through the heads of the 3 of them, leaving wounds as thick as fingers and dripping with blood. The 3 of them died instantly. At this time, Ah Jin's eyes towards Bai Yi had changed, and there was deep fear in his eyes. Ah Jin considers himself a ruthless person, but after meeting Bai Yi, Ah Jin realizes that his ruthlessness is far from that of Bai Yi. The severe pain of broken limbs tortured Ah Jin all the time. This feeling of life being worse than death made Ah Jin give up hope of living. Since you already know the news you want to know, then kill me. Bai Yi shook his head and said with emotion, there is an old saying that it is better to live than to die. Why seek death when you have the chance to live? Ah Jin watched helplessly as Bai Yi took out a heart-sized purple object from his arms. What frightens Ah Jin even more is that this purple heart is still beating, expanding and contracting just like a real heart. The purple blood vessels on it are clearly visible, densely packed and twisted into a ball. Weird cells can greatly improve the physical fitness of the eater and transform them into a weird shape most suitable for fighting. The eater will be completely obedient to the host, and redemption requires 1 point of world source power. Close black lens bracket. This was temporarily redeemed from the store when Bai Yi saw Ah Jin. Weird cells like this can quickly create a large number of powerful subordinates. It's just that Bai Yi's current world lacks source power, and he doesn't need so many subordinates. The reason why I thought of giving Ah Jin some weird cells was just because I saw various speculations about Ah Jin in my previous life. Some say that Akin is the Green Bull, one of the 3 future Marine generals, and others say that he is the child of Kaido and Charlotte Linlin. Anyway, there were all kinds of weird theories, so Bai Yi came up with an idea and prepared to give Jin the weirdo fruit. Ah Jin, who had always been stubborn, until Bai Yi forced the beating heart into his mouth, the fear he had suppressed until now finally burst out. This is the fear of the unknown and the fear of Bai Yi's methods. Ah Jin said angrily, what did you give me to eat? Bai Yi looked at Ah Jin and said calmly, a good thing can make you stronger and allow you to realize all the evil thoughts in your heart. So you'd better thank me, after all, this thing is quite expensive. Quote. Ah Jingdong was about to yell, but he felt a sharp pain that penetrated into his bones. For a moment, his heart felt as if it was grabbed by a huge palm and crushed. The meridians all over the body were twisted, blood flowed backwards, like steamed prawns, and the skin was pale red. A scream that was several times more pitiful than before came out of Ah Jin's mouth. Bai Yi scratched his ears, feeling the sound was a bit harsh. After a few minutes, the heartbreaking screams finally stopped. Ah Jin was lying on the ground, as if he had lost his life. The ground around him was soaked with sweat, and the ground was full of traces of the struggle just now. Is he dead? Bai Yi, who had been observing Ah Jin, asked doubtfully. This possibility is not impossible, after all, not everyone can withstand the strength of the weird cells. It's a pity that time and world power were wasted. Bai Yi shook his head and sighed. These can only be made up for by the Creek pirates. Just as he was about to turn around and leave, he heard a heavy breathing sound behind him. Low roars sounded from time to time, and a figure continued to grow. When Bai Yi turned around, the figure had grown to more than 4 meters, and his whole body was covered with explosive muscles, giving him a full sense of strength. The most eye-catching thing is that Ah Jin has an extra bone on both arms. And a ball-shaped object the size of a basketball is formed at the end of the bone. Isn't this the weapon that Ah Jin was holding before? So that's it. Bai Yi now understands that the introduction of weird cells can transform the eater into the most suitable form for fighting. The true meaning of this sentence. A biting breath suddenly burst out from Ah Jin's body, and the air waves washed away Bai Yi's clothes with a rustling sound. The invisible air wave completely destroyed the wall of the tavern. Wooden tables, chairs and benches turned into powder in the air. A huge black shadow enveloped the white knight. It seemed that the next moment, Bai Yi would be attacked. Enough trouble, let's go back to the original state. Bai Yi said with a normal expression, we still have to kill Creek. I saw Ah Jin lowering his huge head and humming, I will obey your orders, sir. From a body of more than 4 meters tall to less than 2 meters in the blink of an eye, it returned to its original appearance. It was as if the scene that just happened was an illusion. Chapter 19 The Terrifying Power of the Weirdo. Advertise here. An unknown island, where the Creek pirates are stationed. It's getting late and night has fallen. Thousands of pirates gathered here, and the figure of the leader, Creek, looked even more burly under the light of the fire. Suddenly, Creek kicked the fire, causing sparks to fly, and some flames splashed onto the other pirates, causing a slight commotion. The rest of them didn't even dare to say a word. Creek said extremely impatiently, what's going on? It's already this time, why hasn't Ajin come back yet? Iron Wall, Baloo, one of the top executives of the Creek pirates, quickly explained, could it be Marine you met on the way back? Creek curled his lips disdainfully and said, Marine. Marine will walk around when he sees our Creek pirates, and he dares to take the initiative to attack us. Baloo said sarcastically, this is true under normal circumstances, but recently a new Marine lieutenant appeared in the East China Sea, named Bai Yi. More than a dozen pirates have died in his hands, including many pirates with bounties worth tens of millions of belly. If Ah Jin and his party met Bai Yi on the way back, they might really be in trouble. Quote. HMPH, what about Captain Marine? Marine put all the credit on one person and deliberately promoted this person. Creek said disdainfully. Otherwise, how could a Marine lieutenant be so strong? Of course, Creek had heard of Bai Yi's name, but he didn't take it seriously after getting the news. While the two were talking, one of his subordinates shouted nervously, Captain Creek, Captain Akin is back. Both Creek and Baloo heard something amiss from the shouts of their men. What happened? Including Captain Ajin, there are only 2 people back. Creek was shocked when he heard this, and quickly took Baloo forward to check the situation. When he saw Akin coming back with only one unfamiliar face, Creek's expression suddenly changed and he said angrily, Akin, where are those pirate groups you brought with you? Why haven't any of them come back? However, Akin, who used to regard Creek as a god, now pretended not to hear Creek's questions. Didn't pay any attention to it. Baloo was also angered by Ajin's attitude and said harshly, Ajin, what kind of attitude do you have? Didn't you even hear what Captain Creek said? But Ah Jin still looked blank, without any change. Just when Creek was about to get angry, a chuckle suddenly sounded. Haha, you don't need to say any more. It's useless no matter how much you say. Creek frowned, looked at Bai Yi who was standing next to Ajin, and asked in a bad tone, who are you? Why haven't I seen you? Bai Yi smiled lightly and said, in order to make you understand, let me introduce myself first. Captain Marine, White Knight. Quote. What? You are Marine Captain Bai Yi. Baloo was shocked. When the pirates who surrounded him heard Bai Yi's name, they subconsciously took a few steps back. Creek's face changed. He didn't expect Bai Yi to actually come to the door. And he still brought his most trusted subordinate, Ghost Man, Ah Jin. Ajin, you brought the enemy here, are you ready to betray me? Creek picked up a 2,000-kilogram gun and pointed it at Akin and asked. Sorry, let me introduce you again. This is my weirdo, Ajin. Bai Yi said with a smile. Ajin, kill me, yes. Ah Jin spat out these 2 words expressionlessly. Creek laughed angrily, you are such an ignorant brat, although I don't know what method you used to trick Ajin into obeying your orders. But Ajin used to be my subordinate, so I know his strength very well. Do you think just the 2 of you can take care of us? Bai Yi sneered and said, I'm going to let you know one thing today, what it means that today is different from the past. Iron Wall. Baloo was already ready for battle. Captain Creek, Ajin has betrayed us, shall we just take action? Creek is a ruthless and unjust person. When Ajin brought Bai Yi to this place, in his heart, Ajin had been sentenced to death. Creek shouted, give me a hand and kill the 2 enemies in front of you. As soon as Creek finished speaking, Baloo waved a small buckler and rushed towards Ajin immediately. Compared to Bai Yi, whose strength was unknown, Baloo still had a better understanding of the strength of Ah Jin, who had been his companion before. Generally speaking, the strength of the 2 is almost the same. But because Akin is extremely loyal to Creek, Creek values Akin even more. Although they are both senior cadres, Ah Jin's status is higher than that of Baloo. This also made Baloo unhappy for a long time. But who would have thought that Akin, who was known for his loyalty, would betray Captain Creek? Ah Jin, you really made a right choice. Baloo said sarcastically. Baloo quickly rushed to Ajin, holding a round shield in both hands, hitting Ajin directly on the head. I can finally become the second in command of the Creek pirates. Except for Captain Creek, no one can be above me. Baloo said sternly with a ferocious look on his face. A trace of bloodlust flashed in Baloo's eyes, as if he had seen Ah Jin's head squeeze and explode like a watermelon. Go to hell. The double shields hit Ah Jin's head hard, ding, making a harsh collision sound. Next moment, although it hit Ah Jin, there was no trace of joy on Baloo's face, instead he was full of fear. The double shield actually left only 2 faint white spots on Ah Jin's face, which fell off after being gently wiped. You are not Ah Jin, who on earth are you? Baloo said in shock. Baloo's full blow could even squeeze an iron block into a piece of paper. But it failed to cause any damage to Ah Jin, which was completely beyond Baloo's expectations. When Creek saw this scene, his face darkened. What exactly did you do to Ah Jin? Bai Yi said calmly, the fun is just about to begin. Ah! A deafening roar suddenly erupted from Ah Jin's mouth, and invisible waves of sound spread crazily in all directions. The weaker pirate's ears were bleeding and he was shaken to his core. Weird. Monster. Someone yelled. Ah Jin turned into a weird state, horrifying everyone with his 4-meter-high height, bulging muscles all over his body, and his eyes filled with crazy killing intent. His combat power was strengthened in all aspects, and he appeared in front of Baloo as soon as he moved his steps. The bone hammer on his right arm hit the shield on Baloo's chest hard. With a dang sound, the shield shattered into slag, and a huge impact force penetrated the body. Baloo vomited blood wildly, with unwillingness in his eyes, and fell to the ground. Then Ah Jin quickly eliminated the surrounding pirates like a tiger among wolves. There were cries of mourning. This was a one-sided killing. Chapter 20 The Final Goal. Advertise here. Seeing Ah Jin's killing spree, Creek felt horrified. He knew in his heart that even he was probably no match for Ah Jin. What's more, Bai Yi, who hasn't taken action yet, is the biggest enemy. But even so, Creek didn't want to give up his last hope and wanted to struggle again. HMPH, I want you to know who is the strongest pirate in the East China Sea. Creek brandished a big gun, and his golden suit shone brightly under the moonlight. At this moment, it looked like the arrival of the god of war. Really, you're quite tough. Bai Yi chuckled. Ah Jin, let's go and have fun with Creek. Ah Jin appeared behind Creek in a flash, reached up with both crutches, and struck down with all his strength. The weapon rubbed violently with the air, causing little sparks to appear. Creek reacted very quickly, raised the big gun, put it above his head, and hit the big gun hard with his crutches, bang. For a time, the earth shook and the mountains shook, and waves rose up from the nearby sea. Creek was smashed directly into the ground, and a deep pit several meters wide appeared on the ground. At this time, the golden battle suit on Creek's body was shattered into pieces, and the gun had already been broken into 2 halves. The whole person's face was covered in blood, and the bones in both arms were broken. It was so miserable. Just when Ah Jin was about to give a fatal blow, Creek suddenly begged, I was wrong, don't kill me, I am willing to become your subordinate. Although Creek's surrender was despicable, Bai Yi did not refuse his surrender. No matter what Creek's plan is, as long as he eats the weirdo cells, everything is a foregone conclusion. Bai Yi had no reason to refuse. It has to be said that Creek can become the strongest pirate in the East China Sea, except for his shameless methods. Creek's talent is also beyond the reach of normal people. Possessing uncanny strength that is incomparable to ordinary people, he can wield a large gun weighing more than 2,000 kilograms with one arm. After taking the monster cells, his transformed strength instantly surpassed that of Ah Jin. Bai Yi also received the system prompt and successfully changed the plot. After more than half a month, Bai Yi has basically changed all the original plot in his memory. For example, on Gaia Island, kill the Black Cat pirates. It's just bad luck that no trace of Usopp was found on Gaia Island. Open the system panel. Open black lens bracket host. Bai Yi close black lens bracket. Template. One Punch Man, Saitama. Fusion degree, 5%. World source power, 745. Fusion degree 5% 6%, cost of world source power, 160. Opening the redemption level 2 store requires spending world source power, 1000. 745 points of world source power is the result of Bai Yi's struggle for more than half a month. Fusion degree 6% 7%, requires world source power, 200. Fusion degree 7% 8%, world source power required, 240. Bai Yi directly worked hard to increase the fusion degree by 3 points, spending 600 points of world source power. Open black lens bracket host. Bai Yi close black lens bracket. Template. One Punch Man, Saitama. Fusion degree, 8%. World source power, 145. Feeling the full strength in his body, Bai Yi breathed a long sigh of relief and murmured. Maybe now I am qualified to stand in front of him. Just 3 days ago, after Bai Yi defeated the Black Cat pirates, I wanted to experiment with a crazy idea, an idea that popped into my mind as soon as I got the system. That is, should we try to kill the son of the world, Luffy? Once this thought appears, it can no longer be suppressed like wildfire. By changing Nami's fate, it can be noticed that there seems to be an important role in the original work. The benefits brought by blindly killing people are not as much as those from continuously participating in events. But if you live your whole life and everything depends on gains and losses, then it will be too tiring. So Bai Yi went to Windmill Village. Maybe God is really blessing Luffy. When Byakuya went there a few days ago. Luffy's grandfather, marine hero, Garp is also in Windmill Village. Even though Bai Yi did not have direct contact with Garp, he felt great pressure from Garp. If you try forcefully, the chance of success is very low. Moreover, Byakuya still needed Marine's identity, so he had to put aside the matter of killing Luffy and decided to deal with the Creek pirates first. Now 3 points of integration have been increased, which has greatly improved the strength. This idea came up again in Baiyi. At the same time, the Rogue Town Marine Base. In the office, a man was wearing a marine justice coat, with his right leg resting on his left knee, holding a large cigarette in his mouth and puffing out the smoke. This is Smoker, who was awarded the rank of colonel in the Marine headquarters and is responsible for guarding the entrance to the Grand Route from the East China Sea. As the first student of the same period to graduate from the elite training camp of Marine headquarters, he is also a user with Logia fruit abilities. Smoker's future is bright. Having just graduated from the training camp, he is now stationed in Rogue Town, the entrance to the Grand Route. Such treatment is not available to everyone. With Smoker's strength, suppressing the entire East China Sea is not a problem. We just have to guard Rogue Town and cannot act privately. Otherwise, he would have led his men and wiped out the East China Sea pirates one by one. At this time, Smoker held information transmitted from other marine branches in the East China Sea. Marine Lieutenant Byakuya single-handedly defeated the strongest pirate group in the East China Sea, the Creek Pirates. The title is extremely conspicuous in terms of information. After a quick inspection, Smoker couldn't help but think, what is the origin of this White Knight? From being unknown to becoming famous in the East China Sea, Baiyi only spent about half a month. Almost all the famous pirates in the East China Sea died tragically in Baiyi's hands. From this point of view, it is not an exaggeration to say that Baiyi is a hero. But Baiyi killed Colonel Mouse of the 16th branch, but Baiyi's identity became confusing. Captain Marine. Are you really Marine? Just when Smoker was racking his brains for Baiyi's identity. Baiyi has already taken Creek and Agent on the way to Windmill Village. No matter whether the operation to kill Luffy succeeds or not, Byakuya will not linger any longer in the East China Sea. 2 days later, we successfully arrived at Windmill Village. Crick, Agent, your appearance is too easy to identify. Please change it. Yes, sir. Creek and Agent controlled the facial muscles and made subtle adjustments. After the adjustments, there was no trace of the past at all. This is also one of the abilities brought by the weird cells. Looking at the two completely unfamiliar faces, Baiyi thought for a moment and said, since your appearance has changed. From now on, your names should also change. Quote. Baiyi is divided into 4 levels. Gods, dragons, ghosts and tigers according to the method of rating monsters in One Punch Man. Based on the current strength of Creek and Akin, Baiyi calls them Ghost 1 and Ghost 2. If judged by the amount of the reward, both of them should be considered big pirates with a reward of hundreds of millions. Let's go and see the future One Piece now. If he still has a future.